Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaron from Jeranism, back with another live video for you. It is Friday, which means it's time for another Jeranism Friday Lounge. So thank you guys for joining me so much. I do appreciate it. Should be another fun show. We've got a nice panel going and a new member to the panel, so we'll introduce all of them. First, let's say hello to Bob from Globebusters. Bob, nice to hear your voice again.
Hey, Jaron, glad to be here. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to be on, since I had to work last week, but just enjoying the snowstorm that we're going through, but glad to be here.
All right, well, glad you're indoors, glad you're not out in the blizzard, and we're happy to have you joining us. We also have Rodrigo Ferrari Nunes. Doctor, how's it going?
Hello, Jaron. How's it going? Hello, Bob. We heard that you were sick the other night. Hopefully feeling better.
Yep, doing much better.
Yeah, everything's okay. Hopefully you had a chance, some of you, I think maybe Jaron did take a look at the Space Crack magazine, at least what the little bit I put out.
I'm digging it. I really liked it.
Yeah, me too, Rodrigo. It's awesome. I really like it.
Yeah, it's kind of addicting, which is something that I think that goes to say a lot. Anytime I would start reading something and I'm kind of addicted to it, that always says something. So yeah, we can talk about that a little bit today, or what your plans were with that. So we'll do that in a little bit. We also have joining us the great, the powerful Iru Landucci. Iru.
Hey man, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Still across the Atlantic?
Still close. Yes, exactly. Still here in Europe. This is my last weekend. So on Monday, I gonna again fighting with the upside down behavior, Coriolis effects.
Poor guy.
It's gonna destroy my body. But it's hard. It's more hard than be an astronaut when they come to the Earth and they put that little blank on the legs.
The little blanket.
But they have the suit in itself that supports minus 260 degrees, but they need the blank on the legs. Yeah. So I'm going to be in some kind of that state, but I know that I'm going to survive.
Oh, man. I wish I was there when you get off the plane so I could carry you off the plane.
No, please. I'm going to need it. I need someone to take me on of the plane, put me in the wheelchair with the blank and, all that kind of show.
Yeah, we need that. It's hilarious. We also have joining us this week for the first time here at the Friday Lounge. Everybody who watches Globebusters, I'm sure, knows him, or anybody who checks out YouTube, because he's got quite a big following, almost 50,000 subscribers on one channel, and I think quite a few on his second channel, and that is UAP, the underappreciated physicist. UAP, welcome to the Friday Lounge.
Thank you. Hey, glad to be here. First time.
Nice to have you. That's
awesome.
You. I think we also have Austin going to be joining us in a little bit. He might be a little bit late, and I'm not sure who else, but you never know. You never know who might pop in. So Welcome to the show, everybody. Should be fun. Bob, did you hear that there is a Nikon P950 out?
No, I did not. What is that going to be? Kind of a mix between the two, or what?
I don't know. I just I got a text message from Airto. He's in the chat. He went and picked his up the other day, so he's all stoked about it. So I'd have to ask him. I guess I could look it up real quick. I don't know exactly if it's supposed to be. I don't know why you would. If it's supposed to be better than the 1000, I don't know why you would call it a P950. But
yeah, you'd think it'd be like the 1100 or something.
Right.
But yeah, Cool Pix P950. I'll be damned. There is such a thing.
Yeah, 19. Let's see here. When did this come out? What is it all about? We'll have to look at it here.
Hopefully they increase the resolution. You know how many megapixels it does, and also there's a couple things that they fell down on the P1000 that it would be nice to see, in a later revision.
It has 4K video, 4K video, full HD.
4K. I don't know.
Yeah, P1000 has that.
P1000. Yeah.
166 times zoom, digital.
But 125 optical.
Isn't that what the P1000 is? I think it's
yeah,
identical.
that's what. Yeah.
Here I got 83 times optical.
Yeah, that's like the P900.
I think that's the P900. I don't know what is supposed to be. It says super telephoto, super portable. Puts the incredible power of 2,000 millimeter zoom lens into a compact body. Weighs just 2 pounds. I'm not sure what. We'll have to ask Erto what he thinks of it, or I guess he'll be trying it out here in the future. And time lapse made easy. RAW for stills. It sounds a lot like the P1000, really. Cinematic 4K. Zoom in with a view. It's equipped with a brilliant dual viewing system featuring a super high resolution.
I found a place where they're doing a triple comparison with the 1000 and the 900. Let me just post it here.
Oh yeah, I'll check that out. See what is different about it, but I don't know. Maybe it's just another. Oh, they have this little pop-out screen. That's nice.
I've hesitated to switch mine to IR. I've wanted to do that, but it's a mirrored camera. I don't know if that makes it like I wouldn't be able to do that. But the P1000 is just incredible.
Yeah, I'm happy with the P900 converted, but you miss the fact that you want to use it for regular photos, and I'm not sure if I have that ability. Bob, do you know once I've converted it, can I add a filter onto the end of it?
You can.
Okay, you can.
Once you convert it, all you have to do is screw on the filter that they removed on the front of it, and it's back to a normal camera again.
Okay, I'll have to figure out which filter that's supposed to be, because I would like to have it to use it again. It must not be as good as the P1000, because I think the P1000 was $1,000.
Yeah.
I've had both. There is a difference. I was actually the P1000 zooms in so much. I was actually a little bit more satisfied with the 900, but I already switched, and the 1000 does have a higher zoom, and it's just really hard to use that zoom. It's so incredibly high.
And the
just
thing you
your
learn
heart
real
beating,
quick,
standing far away from it shakes it.
That's what I was going to say. Is that the thing you learn real quick is how you need an excellent tripod. Yeah, if you're using any kind of flimsy thing, even a $100 tripod, that thing, especially if you extend it all the way out, it'll tip over.
Yeah, I went through 3 tripods, and the one I have is, it's a cheaper one. It was only like $200, but it's barely adequate to function with it. And I think what you really need is there's a place on these tripods to hang a weight, and I just haven't tried that yet. But I think that will help a lot. But I was at an event looking at the TV cameras tripods that they were using there, and those are like 100 pounds. And I looked them up, and they cost thousands of dollars. But that would be the actual best thing to use.
I am so stupid, because now that you mention it, my tripod does have a place to hang weights, and I've always thought it was like a place to hang a bag or something. I was like, what the hell is this hook for? But now you mention it, I'm like, oh, that's for a weight.
It's cup holder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What I see here is that it's very, very similar to the 900. It's only a little heavier, a little bigger, and it does have a few more compression, and video formats are more in the 950.
Yeah,
but there seems to be not much more difference.
That was the thing that blew me away about the P1000 is how much flippin' bigger it is than the 900. I mean, it's gargantuan.
It's like double the size. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then if you extend that lens all the way out, the thing's like a foot and a half long, it seems like.
Yeah. It gets the neighbors looking because it has the way the lens works. It's actually imaging up at an angle, even though it's telescoped out. Like if you follow that line, that's not what you're looking at. What you're actually looking at is way higher up. So when I'm out in my yard filming the moon, the way the camera's pointed from a third party point of view, it looks like I'm like looking in the neighbor's windows. And I really hate that aspect about it, but
that's really weird, though.
It is actually viewing, and I don't know why it works that way. Maybe it's just like an optical illusion, but it definitely is like that.
I noticed that at the conference, and I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that before, but if you take the moon in the sky and then you take somebody with a telescope and you get that side-on view, and somebody at the conference had a telescope outside we were looking at, and they had this telescope pointed at the moon, and if you stood to the side and drew a line like where you think that the telescope seems to be aimed up in the wrong spot. It doesn't look... I don't know. Have you ever seen that, Bob?
Yeah.
If you kind of take a side-on view, I don't know why that is. It must be an optical illusion.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Interesting. That's how much difference it makes to the position of the observer on the observation itself.
Right.
Which is one thing that made me wonder. One day I was seeing the moon through a slit from my position, and then I started blinking, and I noticed that there was a difference, of course, between what my two eyes are seeing and the position of the moon. And I wonder what that means in terms of parallax, but it's some sort of... that you can tell that there's a difference there. Maybe it says something about it being closer than what we think, but I don't know.
Interesting. I'll have to go out and take a look at that next time, because I'll have, you could have somebody across the street, even aim their camera up at the moon and then step across to your side of the street and see how it's angled. Just was weird. So we are on Friday Lounge number 13. I called it Spaced Out. I didn't want to steal Rodrigo's space crack.
David's here.
All right, David. What's up, Dave?
I don't know if he can talk. He's on an airplane and he can monitor the chat from the Hangout, but he's listening to us on Skype. But I'm not sure if he can talk or not.
Oh, okay.
But he's muted, so you could try it, David. See if that'll work.
On an airplane. Well, people next to him.
Yeah, he's on a flight.
Wow.
All right. Well, welcome to the show, Dave. Even though you're not really there. Iru, anything new with you? How's the things going over there?
Well, I don't know if I mentioned before, but I was in the Einstein House and Einstein Museum.
Yeah, you mentioned it a little bit on our Globebuster-ish show. on Sunday.
Globebuster, yeah. So I'm trying to recover from that. Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm still.
Did they have some?
After that experience, it's really difficult to see the flat Earth again. And I believe some kind of virus, not the coronavirus, but maybe the heliocentric virus, start entering my
the Einstein
blood
virus
flow.
Ooh.
Yeah, a little bit of Einstein is inside of me now, and
Right.
I don't know how can I.
Do you feel smarter?
Well, that is the strange thing. I expect that, but I don't yet so high. I'm still waiting for the, for the thing happen. I'm still dumb as a flat earther.
Well, Iru, if you start spouting off about quantum physics, I'm going to have to boot you off Goldbusters.
No, I know that, man. I know, and I don't want to, pass this to the other members in the Globebuster. So,
yeah.
No, but talking serious or seriously, no, nothing new, because I'm trying to finish my my days here. I'm with my girlfriend, so. I didn't, after the Madrid conference, I just, trying to
You did a
walk
few
around.
lives. I saw that you talked in a directo with Hermanos Baria about the Einstein.
Yes, because I film, few from my cell phone and to show the people the insanity of the house where Einstein supposedly lives, and the museum, it's a scam, 13 euros for nothing, and from the house 6 euros for nothing. I mean, it's just pictures, some books, and some mapping projection on the wall, and nothing more than that. So it's not. I don't recommend it to do if you are like South American people, where maybe with
Spending
that
money
with that money you live 1 month. $20 for going to Einstein Museum and house. Not recommended.
right.
Austin just arrived.
What's up, Austin?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
How you been?
Pretty good. Can't complain. How about yourself?
I think good. No real complaints. I don't know about everybody else, but nobody would listen anyway.
That was a good stream last night, Austin, about family. I was commenting. I was saying, Austin's starting to sound like Owen Benjamin Jr.
Yeah, dude, I agree with him on so much. It's pretty crazy, and I've adopted so many of his terms. I catch myself sounding like that too.
That it's not a bad thing. I think I have a lot of respect for Owen. I love his family values, and I love his logical mind, and really just the way he thinks about a lot of stuff. And so it's not a bad person to emulate. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. No, I think it's funny too, because he's one of those guys where sometimes you'll just hear something and it's like, I don't know if it's just said in that particular way for like the first time that you've heard it or what, but I totally agree. Sometimes I just hear him talking and I'm like, man, I've never thought of it that way, and it always just makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you call it his rational mind or his logical mind or what. And then when you talk about the homestead, I mean, I don't know if there's many people out there that wouldn't say that's what they want. I mean, for me it is. I mean, that would be great.
What is that?
To live on your own land, to, grow your own food, to have a nice couple acres where you could have some animals and have your family grow up there, or your children, be born there, grow up there. I think a lot of people, like that or want that. And it's just difficult. I mean, they've made it very difficult to do that in today's world.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I grew up that way.
Did you?
I loved it. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I didn't like being in the country, for socialization and everything. When I could drive, everything was better. But I did. Yeah. It was really great. Free. You can just do your own thing,
right,
and experiment with stuff outside. That people aren't doing as much of anyway. But it was even rare just to have a homestead type thing like that. Even when I grew up, but yeah, I'm glad to see that it's valued, because it's something you appreciate later on, especially.
Oh, I bet.
Isn't it so crazy too that he's like so demonized, and like he promotes family and like self-sustainability?
Well, that's why, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's such an evil thing.
How dare you?
How dare you?
Can't go and do that nonsense. No, yeah, I grew up in the city, or I guess suburbs, but certainly much different. But it's something I've always looked at and always hoped for, and that's all you can do, right? You kind of imagine your future and hope that stuff comes to fruition. So more power to him.
Some people don't understand that he's a comedian and he has a particular style, and
right,
he can push the boundaries, and that's what good comedians do, and that's and you have to understand. So there's the personas he can put on, and then there's the things he's really trying to say, and then there's this whole journey that we watch. We all saw how he transformed. But yeah, of course, there's some people that would say that he, for instance, like in reference to the conference, they would say that he was speaking too much, making jokes that some of the Christians that weren't really up for hearing, or so on. So there was some tension there. But but that's just not being able to understand that that's what comedians do. And some people have a certain style, and they're not out there to just please everyone. That's not how it works. It doesn't work. It's a nightmare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He did manage to piss off a lot of people at the conference, but like you said, you can't please everybody all the time. I liked his act, I really did, but I could certainly understand some people's point of view where they were a little offended. But the thing is you don't have to listen, you don't have to watch. But Owen Benjamin, in the flat Earth world, is worth so much more to us than his comedy. In fact, his comedy is secondary. And I think the great thing about Owen is just watching him wake up, and he's been so incredibly honest about it. It's just really refreshing to see that.
Did you get to hang out, you guys together there at the conference? How was that?
I did. I talked to him for a while, not as long as I would have liked to, because of course everybody wanted his ear, but I got the opportunity to explain to him how ham radio would work on a flat earth. And I found him to be a delightful person. I really, really liked him.
Yeah, it was great. I got to go to dinner with him, and sometimes you're always thinking that these people might act different in person or in public, or you just have to question. I mean, it's great to meet you guys and realize Rodrigo's the same, Iru's the same, Bob's the same, and then some of these other guys you're like thinking, okay, I wonder if he's going to be a little bit more quiet, a little more subdued, and he's exactly the same person in person as he is. I mean, sitting across the table, he's talking about the exact same things, he's rattling off. And he's definitely more of a talker than a listener, which is exactly what he's like on air, right? I mean, it's exactly what you would expect. I mean, he's no different. He's got an opinion on everything, which I love. That's why I think Bob's right, that his appeal is his authenticity, is his honesty, and that's something that's so hard to find today. I always talk about it. I mean, who would you rather listen to? Somebody in the mainstream media that basically reads off a teleprompter. Same thing with these politicians that have just cut and dry speeches that they have to give and certain angles they have to play, or somebody who is truly authentic and honest and will give you their honest opinion on anything. I love to watch Owen read the chats, because a lot of people, when you watch him read the chats, just kind of sit there and agree with everybody, right? Oh yeah, with this person. And Owen, if you say something that he doesn't agree with, he'll just call it right out. Like, nope, no, that's bullshit. Nope, I don't know where you came off saying that. It's just very authentic, very honest, and that's a breath of fresh air. I think they're trying to do away with that as much as possible nowadays. It just seems like authenticity is gone. That's another reason why Austin's great. I mean, I think a lot of us have that quality where at least what we're doing is being authentic.
Right. We don't have to turn into a different person. When we go on air or on YouTube, I don't change. I'm still me. I know you guys are all still you.
Right.
We don't have to become somebody else. And that's, not only does that make things a lot less complicated, but it makes it a lot more refreshing, not only for us, but for the viewers as well.
I think so. I mean, that's why I wanted to do these Friday lounges, because, Rodrigo and I and Iru and both their respective girlfriends, when we went out on the town, when we were in Amsterdam, when we were sitting by the fire, we're the same people, except for Rodrigo, who had a guitar and was playing guitar. But I don't get much of that on the Friday lounge. But no, I mean, it was just great to see that our conversations just run the same. We're just like we're talking now, which is why I wanted to do this lounge. I said, let's just do it live. Do it live.
Yeah, we could have it sometime. One point we'll see if Louise is up for playing a song.
Yeah,
but yeah, we can get that to go on some point. Some of this stuff that we play. There's
I just
a
think
lot
that's
of it.
awesome. I don't know about a lot of you guys, but I used to have a big group of friends. Well, there's probably 10 of us or something that used to hang out, but it was all about sports. It was all about just nonsense. I mean, it was just going nowhere, and I miss kind of that camaraderie, hanging out, just having conversations, just talking. And even I talked about it on Raw and stuff. I went to a Super Bowl party where it was kind of the same thing, where I was going there thinking, okay, I bet you a bunch of people are going to be asking me flat earth and stuff, but they were just all into the Super Bowl, all into the football game, what's going on with football, what's going on with basketball, that's just who they are. And I mean, a few things came up here and there. There was some guy that's like I don't know, he's either has physics classes or something, who was trying to talk to me about space-time, which I was just laughing at, because I asked him, well, how does space-time work? And he's talking about, the globe kind of pushes down on the fabric of space-time. I'm like, pushes down? I thought there's no up and down in space. It was pretty funny when I said that, though. Like everybody there was like, ooh, like but it was just kind of still a good time. I still enjoy hanging out with people, but it's not the same. It's not like I'm looking forward to going back there. It's like I'm not. I look forward to a Friday lounge with you guys. So I think we all kind of have that same deal where it's cool to hang out, cool to talk, but not about the stuff we used to.
Yeah, a lot of us experience the same thing with like the Super Bowl parties. Mm-hmm. Even like in my chats, my viewers, like once you wake up and once you're into this stuff, it can be a kind of all consuming, but it makes it. I don't know. It maybe it's part of growing up. I guess it wouldn't be that, but it changes you in such a way, which I consider a good way. But you just look at some things and say, you know, as great as that was, like I was in football a lot. I did fantasy football and everything.
Right.
But it's just, I marvel at the amount of time and energy I put into that recreational activity, and I gained like nothing out of it. Like it didn't make me a better person.
Zero,
you know?
right? I mean, I totally agree. I used to be in fantasy football too, and it was, you know, getting together for the draft, and everybody's there and drinking beers, and you draft your players, and then every week you're staring at this screen and moving players around, and what do you get out of it?
I never got this team management kind of stuff. There's games like that. There have been games like that since the 80s and 90s. Some of the first video games are like that, you know, managing players, and you buy this player and your team simulates a game and you win or lose. But still, it's still big.
Oh, it's huge. I wouldn't even venture a guess. I mean, UAP, how many people you think are involved in fantasy football? At least guys.
Millions. I mean, they have these big brackets, tournaments and things like that, but even so many years ago that I did. But like, I haven't watched it. And then I go to the football games. I went to a college party game for the rivalry here, Ohio State, Michigan. And I didn't know, like, I know who the coaches are, but I'm so far out of it now. Like, I don't know any of the names, and you're just kind of expected to, and it just gets a little kind of awkward.
Right.
And you either end up sitting at the kids' table or, you know, helping in the kitchen or something like that, because, you know,
That's just funny you described that. That's exactly how it was at this Super Bowl party, where I kind of, you know, all the guys are talking plays and players, and, you know, I don't know much about, you know, even though it was the 49ers and that's kind of my area's team, right? I live in the Bay Area, so a lot of the guys that I was hanging out with are 49er fans, so they knew like every fact and detail, and I'm like, keep scooting back to the back of the room, and then all of a sudden I'm playing with the kids. So I totally get what you're saying there. Yeah. But it's definitely an awakening, eye-opening experience. I know we were talking about Owen, but he's kind of gone through the same thing we have. He used to be into football, used to watch that stuff. And I just think there's, you know, I'm not saying I have nothing against anybody who wants to go to a Super Bowl party, wants to watch a football game, wants to watch a baseball game. I'm all for that, whatever you want. But just realize how much time and energy gets sapped into that stuff. You know?
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't even know who was in the Super Bowl this year until the day of the Super Bowl.
Right, remember you asked.
That's so crazy. And I mean, the last time I really paid any attention to the Super Bowl was like
when you predicted
4 years ago. Yeah, when I picked it at the beginning of the season, I said Denver's going to go to the Super Bowl and they're going to win it this year, and they did. And I'm just like, I am a prophet.
Well, I was a prophet this week too. Missa came and told me, she goes, your prediction came true, because David Weiss and I did like a little, it didn't end up being much of a prediction show, but we were just talking about predictions for this year, and my prediction for who would die was Kirk Douglas. And she's like, you predicted Kirk Douglas just died. I'm like, babe, he was 103. That was completely that's not much of a prediction. I remember hearing about how old he was. I'm like, how's that guy still alive? And then I was like, oh, well, if I'm going to predict somebody to die.
Was he really that old, Jaron?
Yeah, 103.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. I was checking on you know, ages of people that, you know, I kind of grew up with in my generation. And I was actually downstairs, believe it or not, before the show watching cartoons with Jaron. And two of my favorite cartoons are they're created by the same creators on Disney. It's called Phineas and Ferb and Milo Murphy's Law. And I was just thinking, it's like, I wonder how old Weird Al Yankovic is. And it turns out he's a year and a month older than I am. And I'm just thinking, God, I can't believe this. You know, sometimes I really feel like a fossil, you know.
Do you think, and this is something I've always thought, and I guess I don't know how you would ever prove it or something, but do you think within the next like 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years, that we're going to hear about people dying constantly? And I say that because, you know, everybody since the movie age or since the TV age, so say the 50s or so, has got to know all these TV personalities, right? So these names have come up over and over. But now they're kind of, those people, if it was 50 years ago, are 70, 80, 90. I'm just wondering if it's going to be, we're a couple years away from where every day we'll hear about somebody dying. As weird as that sounds. I just think that because everybody knows all these names, all these actors, old actresses, especially as we go even further. I don't know. It's just something I've always wondered if it's going to become something increase.
I think a lot of that depends on how much you're paying attention to it. Because you know how it is. If you're really focusing or you're paying attention, then you're going to hear it all the time, right? So, like anything else.
Yep. So very interesting stuff. Let's see here. What else? There was an interesting video yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw, but Ranty did a show on my channel, a little presentation called Refraction Effects Through a Homogeneous Atmosphere. Thought it was pretty good. I don't know. I didn't agree with all of it, but I thought it was an interesting presentation. But something that I did watch that I thought was pretty good. Did you guys see? And I'm going to have him try and come on my channel and present. Was Life is Short did a video called A Concept for Vision, Appendix A, Bottom Disappearance Across Flat Surfaces. Anybody get a chance to see that?
Yep.
Yeah,
I thought it was really, really good, and it's an interesting approach looking at the short distances,
right,
and the effect. It's kind of a turnaround. It's a new way to look at things, right? I thought it was great.
Yeah, I think everybody can see.
This is just later in the day. And
so basically, what he's doing is he's looking across only 400 feet here, and he basically fastened this light at here you go 2.5 inches. Above the water. And again, Bob, it's so funny because I was looking at this and I was like, the first thing I thought of was like, oh, I can see Globers already saying the light isn't level.
The light's not level. I know.
It's like, how many times do I tell you it doesn't matter? But this light is, 2.5 inches above the water line, and then he goes over with his phone, and you can see the light back there, and you can see how at 400 feet he can get that light to disappear. Remember, that light is 2.5 inches above the water, and so is his camera lens. Obviously, is at least a little bit above the water. And again, he's showing things disappear from the bottom up. We can eclipse that light. And again, there should be, and he describes it pretty well and gives you all the numbers. So anybody who's wondering, he'll give you the exact numbers of if this were the case, that this was a what do you want to call it, a hump blocking that light in the distance. That I don't remember the number he came up with. I think it was like the Earth would have to have like a 700-mile radius, I think, a 5,000 mile circumference.
Super curve.
Yeah, it would just be ridiculous. And so, just seeing this, and like Bob said, it's a very interesting approach, because if we're able to lose things at just such short distances, then people need to start understanding how when you get close to the bottom of the deck, when you're looking across distances, and he describes it quite well about how you'd have to go back in the video where I'm at here, 1209. But he does a good job here of explaining how we're closer to the ground than we are to the sky. And, of course, and you always will be. If you call this a ceiling, he talks about it, showing it in the hallway as he presented on my channel before. Does great work with the mathematics involved of exactly how much we're seeing. And he's able to, he knows the distance of each of these tiles. And he's able to figure out that each time you half the distance and how much information needs to be transmitted in these little distances. It's the same thing he does here.
I did the same thing. Did I show you this on a corridor here? Because I found a long corridor here in Maastricht that had tiles that were black and white, so you can count them. And because I seen this, I decided to do it myself. So I did a bunch of observations, and then I drew. I did something similar to this to find out what the compression was, and it's very interesting that anybody can emulate this as well.
Right, that's what's so great about it. And this is something you can do just on a tiny lake. I know some people don't have the distances that we try and do, like at the Salton Sea, which is a huge lake, or Lake Okeechobee in Florida. It's tough to find a good spot to do these things, but I think it's fantastic evidence. I mean, what else can you say besides, over distances, if you get too close to the ground, what you're trying to see across a plane disappears. Things disappear bottom up without the need for curvature, or for the need for this hump, or this whatever you want to call it, a bulge. I mean, that's why the Globers say that things disappear in the distance bottom up, is because of the sphere edge. But he just showed quite easily that that's not the case. So I think it was
right. So then you run into the situation where they just like panic and don't know what to do. Like, oh, well, there's supposed to be a geometric horizon here, so where's it at? It's supposed to be physical. And then if the observation is not cohesive with that, like, say, when you see when in the video Ben presented where you see the horizon behind structures, like, oh, well, it's apparent. But that's what we say, bro. Like, what do you know?
Exactly. And then they'll get on there and say stuff like Brenda was saying on Ranty's show the other night, well, there's multiple horizons. It's like,
oh boy, here we go.
That's ridiculous. You can't even show us, Brenda seems to have this delusion that there's this geometric horizon, which nobody else can see, but somehow, it can see it, right? And nobody else can see these things. And then she starts talking about the geometric horizon, the apparent horizon, and then I forgot the third one.
Astrological or something.
Yeah, something like that. It's like, oh my God. I mean, talk about just making stuff up and backpedaling. But you know what? That's really a good thing, because when they get to that level, even the dumbest person in the world, honestly, can see how hard they are backpedaling and just making stuff up, right?
Right.
So I think it does us a lot of good to actually put them in that state. And, Ranty's philosophy is, well, I'm just going to let them get on there and talk and give them enough rope to hang themselves. And even though I used to think that was crazy, now I'm starting to see a little bit of wisdom in that,
Definitely. Yeah, it's good to see, and I think it's great. I love to see it and hear it, because sometimes I think other people see it too. You can't help but notice, like, oh, these guys don't have a clue, and they're just making shit up at this point. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, that on a sphere you would have a physical edge, and if you can see beyond that, then what's the next? What else can you say? And again, we talked
and it's
about
like they don't even really understand the lengths in which they're making themselves go. It's like, it's not like there's a radius, bro. You think this is a ball, so there's a radius. Like, it isn't. You can't just change the numbers or just ignore the radius when you want to. The radius makes a geometric horizon.
Right.
Like, it's a ball, so it has to be there. It has to go down in a way and be a physical horizon.
Yeah.
You guys know how they always say Aristarchus determined the circumference of the Earth thousands of years ago, and that they've really stuck to that and repeated that a lot.
Aristophanes, you mean?
Oh yeah.
So I was like Aristarchus.
Aristarchus is somebody else.
No, Aristophanes. Yeah.
Yes, and so he has the circumference of the Earth, but then the Erdapfel, the original globe, the one from 1492, when I look at that with the proportions, they don't even have the circumference matched up. And so I really am amazed at like how far off the narrative is from like their foundation, the foundational things that they say that we know about it being a sphere and knowing the circumference before on which the curve calculation is based. It's already nebulous, and
the whole story is so screwed up. The
contradiction.
Whole story, yeah, absolutely is the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing with what we've been told about Columbus and what he thought and what he did, and the whole thing makes no sense. And, I mean, imagine if it was so easy, Aristophanes measured it, and here we go. Then the whole Columbus story doesn't make sense with him saying, oh, no, it's much shorter. I can go to India. I hit India with this short little boat trip.
Also, Columbus didn't go very far. He just went to the States and came back. How could he prove the ball? Like they say, he proved the ball.
He never went to the States, so let's make sure that's clear. He never even got to America or stepped foot in it. He just
or
got
right
to the
close
islands.
to whatever Cuba, whatever he was, like in over there. He didn't go all the way to the Indian. It certainly didn't go around the whole world to prove the ball.
No.
Yeah. Hey, Jaron, where did you find his diaries? That remember when you were reading, I think it was you that was reading it and was talking about the part where, or maybe I read it somewhere else, where him and his men would hunt down children and chop their legs out from underneath them.
Oh yeah,
that was in his diary, right?
These guys.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think of if it's his brother or somebody who was with him. I can find all that for you. That's easily findable. But yeah, no, that's what they used to do, and would just kill. And then there's the other stories too, where in order to get favor, he found out there was going to be an eclipse, and cruised over there and told all the people to be an eclipse tomorrow, and then he became a god to them, and then was able to to try and take gold, to try and take people, to try and take slaves, and then eventually he did take a whole bunch of slaves back to Europe. But there's tons of reports of that, and I don't even think that's contested anymore.
No. Those guys are doing horrible things. There's lots of accounts. There's a lot of anthropology on this, on the horrible acts of the conquistadors and whatever, all over, not only South America, all over the world, really. Wherever they went, in the Congo, they would chop people's limbs off in the rubber trade. And the rubber trade was absolutely horrific in the Amazon. There's always been, still is. There's slavery there now, has been. It's nuts. It's still no man's land.
And yet,
it all goes back all the way to what they're doing. But what's funny, like you're saying, like UAP just pointed out, like the early globes didn't match what later was known about the world or whatever. I guess they were far off, and they present their story as if they're right on target about everything. So
I've got a bit of a speculative question for y'all, see what y'all think. So, because when you mentioned Christopher Columbus, like Tesla was under the impression that the Earth was a ball, or at least supposedly, because Christopher Columbus used the Copernican model to find the Americas, and like we just discussed, that isn't even true. Do you think that at one point Tesla was like, it doesn't seem like it's a ball, but I'm going to he just started moving kind of covertly? Or do you think that he just being as brilliant as he was, still fell for that indoctrination the whole time?
It's a good question, man. And I've thought about that a lot too. And I don't know really. So much of his work was destroyed, right? I mean, taken. So how would you even know if he ever did start to venture down a different path? As soon as they took him out, they came in and cleared out all his belongings, and that stuff's been hidden forever. So you can find, some things written by him, but there's even some people out there who aren't necessarily believing that he even existed, or that he
John LeBon.
Right, exactly. But the reason behind that, and you have to kind of follow his logic, is that there's not a lot of firsthand information. And this is why I've always talked about George Washington. Can you prove that George Washington existed? And the answer to that is no. Now, do I think he existed? Well, sure, but the point is that when you talk about somebody from that long ago, there's just not a lot of firsthand sources, and with Tesla, that's definitely the case. I mean, there is some, but it's tough to find. It's a lot of things written about him, or things that he, maybe wrote in a paper, or speeches that he gave, and of course, that's somebody else writing what he said. Could that have been changed? I don't know. So, my only thing with
he's
Tesla,
a character on the world stage for sure.
Absolutely, so. But they did try. I mean, I don't
well,
know
we
about
weren't
you guys.
taught about him. Though,
absolutely,
bro.
I was going to say the same thing. He was not taught in school. I was not. Tesla was never mentioned when I was in school. And I mean grammar school, middle school, high school. I don't know about you guys. He just wasn't mentioned.
Same.
Not at all. In fact, I didn't even know who he was until way back in the 80s when a band came out by the name of Tesla, right? And I really liked their music. And I'm like, I wonder where they got their name, and started looking into it. And it's like, wow, who's this Nikola Tesla guy?
Wait,
and that was the first time I'd ever heard of him.
And you went to school for electrical engineering.
Yeah, exactly.
That's insane.
They don't bring it up.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's like I was looking at some of my interviews that I did in San Francisco the other day, and I'm talking to these physicists, and it just hit me that they're both physics majors, but they say they work with lasers or photonics, I think is what they said. But when I asked them the distance to the sun and to the moon, I think one of them gave an answer of 15,000 kilometers. So I'm just like laughing. I'm like, wait, even in physics, these guys just don't have a clue. The one thing they could say over and over again was, well, it's one astronomical unit. Like, well, thank you very much. That doesn't mean anything. It could be 500 feet and still be called one astronomical unit.
Yeah, the other thing they don't do is they don't teach physicists about like the Sagnac or Michelson-Gale experiment either, apparently, at least according to Malcolm Bodum, because they don't want them questioning or actually looking at that data and going, wait a minute, there's something really wrong here, because Michelson-Gale and Michelson-Morley are in such stark contrast to each other. And of course, they had to build up this whole mythology on Michelson-Morley. And I think to teach them about Airy's failure and Michelson-Gale and all this other stuff would it'd be TMI, right? They can't let them even have that hint to go down that road.
Nope, and I always talk about it. I mean, it's kind of the same thing when you look at astrophysics and why none of them know the curvature equation for, you have to skip that part. Let's not talk about the 8 inches per mile squared. Somebody might go out and do some of the work like that Life is Short is doing, or some of the Black Swan stuff. I mean, it's like that you can't let people know that. So it's just something that's not discussed, and that's why
I can understand with the Michelson-Morley part or the Michelson-Gale, they might not get tight, but I don't think there's really much of excuse for the astrophysicists that are saying stuff like squeeze pure nothingness and quantum every name they can come up with. They know the ether's there, bro. They have to.
I know.
Think so.
And that's something I really want to start pressing on the Globers. I was in some chat. I don't remember what it was. I think it was Ranties or something the other day, and Bob the Science Guy was there. And, again, spewing his rhetoric, Bob proved the rotation of the Earth, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I asked him, I said, so tell me something, Mr. Science Guy. Why is it that the globe earthers have to reference this pitiful nobody flat earther, right, that made an observation? And why is it that you globers do not reference Michelson Gale for your proof of rotation of the Earth? Right. And of course, he had no answer. I don't even think he knew about it, but
probably not. No. It's the same thing. I mean, Simon Dan sent 1,000 people over to my channel to comment the other day on my Are We Spinning video. Yeah, thanks a lot, Simon Dan. But I do appreciate the views, I guess. Thank you. And, I'm reading all these comments, and it's like they're almost copy-paste exactly what Simon Dan says, and then they all have to end their thing with interesting. Oh, Jaron, you already proved the curve. Interesting. Oh, you already proved the curve. Interesting. It's like, man, talk about desperation.
It's like with me, it's all 15 degrees per hour. That's right. Everywhere.
I got a couple of those too. Yeah, it's Bob said 15, or Bob has 15 degrees. It's like, man, you guys are desperate for any proof. That now you go to flat earthers for proof. It's pretty sad. Yeah, pretty sad.
And of course they're filling in the blanks, right? All I said was rotation. I never said of Earth or anything like that. Because that's all it was registering. And speaking of Simon Dan, guys, I'm sure you guys are aware of Ben Taboo Conspiracy's latest video where he's basically calling out Simon as a lying NASA shill.
Right, it's great.
So
that was so good.
I loved it, so I mirrored it on Globebusters, right? And I immediately started getting all these comments. Whoa, you're so stupid, you flat earthers. The reason that you don't see it is because there's no atmosphere on the Earth or on the moon, so therefore it wouldn't glow. And I'm like, are these people for real? So I finally had to pin a comment at the top, and it says, pardon my language, it says, attention Simon Dan, dumbass shills. Before you go and make the utterly retarded claim that the moon doesn't have oxygen and the Earth does, and that is why it burns brightly here, pull your head out and understand that the fuel mixture contains an oxidizer that provides the oxygen to the flame. Therefore, the Aerozine 50 and the dinitrogen tetroxide fuel mixture already have the oxygen they need to burn, and in fact will burn very brightly even in a vacuum, right? And it's like, and then a lot of
it's funny that they're defending some maquette, Bob. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like
I know. And then on other comments, somebody made a comment of how can the rockets even burn without, in the vacuum without any oxygen? And the very same people that are asking that question to me are saying, well, because they put an oxidizer in the fuel. Right, and, it's just like facepalm. Are you kidding me?
Oh, boy. It's sad, but that's all they can do is just go, back and forth, and they'll just believe anything that Simon Dan says and sends him over. I guess, I don't know if it's the voice or what. Just
it's what I call the headless chicken type approach.
Right.
Just kind of running around, hitting in the walls, and automatic kind of.
Well, the great thing is it makes it very easy to delete people from your channel and from commenting on your videos. It's like, thanks. You just have to sit there and go through them all. That's the sad part.
Oh, God, I know. And there were literally, after I posted that, I'll bet there were at least 1,000 comments that came in less than 12 hours.
Right.
It was insane.
Fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder why they don't take the time that when they're commenting and trolling, why don't they take that time to go out and research or try to, do these types of experiments on their own?
They don't do that.
I've really noticed that they really do not actively go out. They don't put anything out on a limb. They don't leave it up to the experiment. They need to know the outcome before they even engage. And they just don't engage because they want this outcome so badly that, it's like they have this winning position and they're just going to lord it over you, but they don't even take the step back to ask themselves anything about it. There's this confidence with nothing to back it up. It's just, I think it's just funny, really.
It's wild, dude. It's wild. That's why I love doing the geometric horizon thing. It's so straight to the point. You know, it's just like, okay, there's geometric horizon. Where's it at? If it's way back here, what is it? Explain it. And then they can't do it. It's over.
Then the ad hounds attacks. Yeah.
With the P1000, I can stand there and show somebody. I can zoom in on something and there's no denying. There's absolutely no denying that something shouldn't be visible. And there's just nothing they can do about it. I mean, they just kind of don't say anything. And I guess that's as much as we can ask for, because it is a lot. It is a lot to make the realization. But yeah, the active trolling, I'll never understand it.
Well, if Simon Dan is a so-called paid agent, and let's face it, there's something that's definitely up with this guy. This guy, a couple years ago, when he first came on the scene, his content, first of all, is garbage. I mean, it's awful, right? But he literally picked up, 100,000 subs in a matter of a couple months, right? Mm-hmm. And he's getting all these views, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views, and it's like, really? You would think the guy was Shakira or something, It's like it's utterly ridiculous. So this was something that was obviously sponsored. YouTube was in on it. They increased the view count. I mean, all of this stuff was contrived as far as I'm concerned. And this is the Glober's go-to guy. He doesn't ever engage in a conversation with anybody, nothing like that. He's just reading a script. He is literally a kind of an Illuminati poster boy, for propaganda.
Has he ever even sat down with any of the Globe channels and just had a conversation? No, right?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Not that I'm aware of, yeah. Not that I've seen. So
yeah, and he lives in the function of Flat Earth channels, right? He has nothing else to say apart from something you said, and then he tries to ridicule and then shoots himself on the foot all the time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, what do? You got to deal with him. And then, of course, he's got his, whenever anything is mentioned about him, I mean, his followers or whatever the hell they are come down on you in droves. We've all experienced it. And it's unbelievable. This is not natural, even for YouTube, right? It's just not natural. There's more to this, much more to this than meets the eye.
Yeah. But if you think, I think he'll just be a footnote, if anything, in the long run. I mean, like you guys, all of us, I guess, are, I think, on the cutting edge of what's really going on and all this detraction and these types of channels that are just basically doing a bad job of rereading something from Wikipedia. It's not going to stand up. It shouldn't. I don't think it will. There's nothing new. You guys are doing the experiments. We're talking about concepts that people can verify on their own. And when they do, they say, oh my God, these guys are right. I cannot believe it. Blows their mind. They experience things they'll never forget. Everything that Scott Manley does on his channel and Simon Dan is pretty much forgettable. They've been hearing the same stuff since pre-K, Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't get upset. I try to ignore them and just leave it. Yeah.
At least Scott Manley play with Legos. I don't know if you saw that video that he are constructing the ISS with Legos.
Oh boy!
I believe it was like the past Sunday, something like that.
We've got logos and he's got Legos.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Well, that proves that the ISS exists. You can build it with Legos.
Yeah, there is the video, where how supposedly the ISS was built. Go to Scott Manley and see how it was
with Legos. Great.
Yeah, they had Legos on that. What was that probe that they sent? It looked like a fidget spinner, and they sent it to Jupiter. And it had that one had like a Legos, special NASA Lego characters, and oh my gosh. Toys in space.
I have no idea.
It's indoctrination to the top. I mean, play with. You have Playmobiles, you have Legos, all based on space, and it's like maybe when they need people to go to the war, at least in my when I remember was the soldier, these tiny toys based on soldiers, and the toys for the women's, work in the kitchen, things like that. A toy is not a toy. It's just a tool for, conducting the masses to certain objectives. So, of course, right now everything is space. And the toys, of course, is going to inspire children, right?
Oh, go to the toy section, and it's all aliens and Star Wars and Star Trek, and it's kind of like the Super Bowl commercials were the same thing. It's just constant aliens and space and Mars and water and Bill Nye. This is going to change everything, and moon landings, and of course, Ellen threw in her flat Earth thing. That's another thing. Did you see that video Dave sent last night of that poor child,
the little kid?
Oh my goodness. I can't show it because it will get a copyright strike, but people can just go. I think that was yesterday.
No.
Ellen DeGeneres.
I couldn't even finish that.
Oh, it was unbearable. And it reminded me of something she did a few years ago where there was some child that was a globe expert. And, she gave him, a bunch of globes, and he was, hugging a globe, and I love the globe. It's like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
It's like child abuse.
So if the audience doesn't know what we're talking about, Dave sent this clip to us yesterday. It was a clip out of Ellen DeGeneres, and
I guess
she
I
had
bring
this.
It up, just not play it.
She had this little 5-year-old kid on her show, and he was like this expert in, space, right? And he's cute as can be. I mean, really cute kid. And he was just so enthusiastic, and he knew everything there was to know. He knew all the phases of a star from the clouds, going through the different phases of being a star and all this stuff. And it was absolutely mind-blowing what he knew. But the crime of it, that was really sickening was that, he was so brainwashed. All that mental intellect that this little boy had, is being wasted towards a fantasy,
Right.
So
it's like, what good can come of it, right? As I always say, it's just, it's so sad.
He was just believing the information.
Well, of course.
And
this is what they want. This is their ideal candidate, right? Somebody who just gets up there and parrots exactly, this is how a star is born, and this is how many galaxies there are, and my favorite galaxy is, Milky Way, because that's where Earth is, and oh man.
It's not very different from memorizing the stats on baseball cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, what a waste. People that do that, it's like, that's great, and you're a hero in the bar scene when you can do stuff like that because you're so knowledgeable on it, but really it's a bunch of useless stats, right?
Right, exactly. It'd be like this kid getting out there and giving me all the batting averages of every guy on the Giants. It's like, great.
You can look up anyway.
Fantastic for you, right? This is the video we're talking about. I'm not going to play any of it, but a kid expert, Xander's science knowledge is out of this world, and he just rattles off what galaxies are and how stars are born, and it's all a bunch of nonsense. But the same thing I saw. I think that if I go back, there was also one where somebody was a globe expert. I don't remember how long ago that was. Somebody sent it to me years ago. Let me see on Generous Globe.
It's so funny, a globe expert or, astrophysicists. These people, how are they experts when, it's never been proven, they can't touch it, they can't do any viable experiments with it, and yet they're somehow not only an expert, but have a PhD, a doctorate in it, Just cracks me up.
So here we go. This is these two.
The world's preeminent globe maker barely even knows how to make it. If you saw the video I did on that, he just didn't even know.
So
he was like, I had to figure it out.
And look at here at the end, this kid gets rewarded with globes.
Oh my God! And he was 3 years old.
3 years old, and yeah,
that's like criminal.
I haven't seen it. Oh man,
yeah.
Oh boy,
it's child abuse.
Oh, look, here you go. Look at. I love the globe. She's like, oh man, we love the globe. Oh boy, it's funny.
Propaganda, boy, and they are stepping it up too. The more of a beating that we lay on the Globers, the more they are stepping this up in almost every facet of mainstream media production everywhere. It's literally everywhere.
Yeah,
I think it's making it bad for them. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Wesley.
sorry, bro.
Sorry.
Speaking of, I did a stream a couple days ago, and I just randomly called it politics. I didn't know the State of the Union address was like going on at the same time. It was like purely coincidence. And then someone jumped in my chat, and they were saying that Trump said something about going to the moon and then putting a flag on Mars.
Great.
I remember him talking about the Space Force, and then having this little boy who really wanted to be an astronaut, and having him there like they usually do. They have all kinds of people that they show. And if you remember in your film, Jaron, Clinton talks about this little boy's dreams of going to space and how it's going to become, such a common thing and so on. So it's very similar to what Trump did, but he was talking about the Space Force and how important it was for kids for this little kid, and they have him there, and everyone clapped for him because he was so inspired about space.
Dude, it seriously pisses me off, I mean, all jokes aside, I think that's like borderline criminal, like a bunch of people grew up thinking, I want to be an astronaut. Imagine growing up with a Space Force.
Right. And how many more people is that going to put into the military? That's why I think that's its intent, there's really not a lot of reason if you're growing up right now, or let's say you're in high school and thinking about your future, there's not a lot of appeal to, I want to go into the Marines, I want to go into the Army, but all of a sudden now there's a Space Force. Well, what do you mean? I can become an astronaut, I can fly around in space. It's just, it's going to get more signups. I guarantee you there's more signups in the next few years than there has been in the past few, simply because of the Space Force. So mission accomplished, right? I mean, that's probably the whole goal.
Propaganda is powerful. I mean, look what 9/11 did for military enlistment, and also Pearl Harbor, right?
Oh yeah, same idea.
Somebody sent me
I don't know if people fully realize what you're giving up when you sign up for the military. You are giving up your rights. You're giving up your constitutional rights. It's a whole host of things, and you now follow orders, and they have Leavenworth for a reason, and there's all kinds of stuff like that really doesn't get included in these military recruitment ads.
Well, they take you away from your family. They take you away from your children. They love to show that, right? Oh, here comes this dad home to see his son from being away for a long time, and I think it's terrible. It's just terrible. But
family is always a big thing. Remember the spot with Buzz Aldrin, how he had his supposed grandson, and they're watching the game together.
Yeah. But you're right, Bob. They're stepping it up everywhere. Somebody sent me, and I can't find it right now, but it was a movie that's out, and I don't remember if he said it was something about there's some app that tells you when you're going to die. I don't know, it's like a horror movie called Countdown or something.
Oh yeah, I saw a preview of that somewhere.
Yeah, well, I guess there's a scene where they're in a bar, and there's like some guy who's kind of like drunk off in the corner or something, drinking, and he's spouting off over there. He's like, oh, the government won't let us go to Antarctica because that's the edge of the flat Earth, and some other things. But he's supposed to be this crazy character, right? He's supposed to be this guy who's off drinking and getting drunk. But they put that in the movie, of course, and it's just, I'm seeing it everywhere. Well, somebody else saw it. I didn't see it, but
it's true.
Damage control.
Has anybody else in this panel been in the military, or just me?
You know what? I have a funny story real quick before anybody answers that. My sister, when she was like in second or third grade, they were asking that question to the classroom. They said, "Hey, does anybody here have any members of their family in the military?" And my sister, who just kind of wanted attention or whatever, raised her hand, and we don't have anybody. But she raised her hand, and the teacher's like, "Oh, great, you have somebody?" She goes, "Yeah, my brother." And she said, "Oh, your brother's in the military?" She said, "What branch?" She said, "Salvation Army." That's just my sister.
The militant wing of the Salvation Army.
My teacher had to call my mom and be like, your daughter is making up lies in class. I don't know, it's funny. Anyway, I have never been in the military, but I don't know about everybody else.
Anyway. I grew up as a military brat, basically, not very long, but for a short time.
Bob, I got to run to the restroom. Will you handle the show for a minute and a half?
Sure, you betcha.
Thank you.
So yeah. Well, the reason I bring that up is because anybody that's been on the military, it is literally a rapid fire reprogramming agenda, and it starts in day one in basic training. It doesn't matter what branch of the military you're in. it is a complete mind screw from the get-go. I mean, they completely mess with your mind. They generate fear inside of you. I mean, you are so afraid of doing anything wrong, at all, for fear you're going to wind up in Leavenworth or, something terrible is going to happen. It's always about that. Beyond that, they vaccinate you like you wouldn't believe. I can't even remember.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh God, so many shots that we had. I remember all of us walking around with sore arms and stuff. And I mean, they just vaccinate the crap out of you. And then if you get deployed overseas, then there's a whole nother regimen on top of that. But
yeah, how does that work? Because they have for travelers also kind of similar from some countries. If you go into certain countries and they decide they have to take certain vaccines, I never understood how that they decide that, but it's quite bizarre. And I guess in the military, you're saying just by coming in, they give you a bunch of shots, and then depending on where you get stationed, then you get more.
Yeah, exactly. They give you a ton of them in basic. But the whole thing is just screwing with your mind from the get-go. And, the only good thing I can say about being in the military is it does give you a sense of paying attention to detail. That's about the only thing. But as far as anything else, everything is done literally by the book. And if you don't do it by the book, then you're threatened with Leavenworth. And everybody knows about Leavenworth, Leavenworth, Kansas. Oh, my God, you don't want to wind up there. And,
what is this? It's like what
Leavenworth is. Yeah, and Leavenworth is the military prison, essentially. That's where they send all the people that commit any kind of crime in the military. You wind up in Leavenworth, Kansas, at this facility there. I actually saw the outside of it once when we were in that area. It's kind of a spooky-looking place, but yeah, they're really effective in using that against you. And again, it's just part of this brainwashing, this fear-based brainwashing and inoculation, and who knows what they're doing with you. And of course, your drill instructors, TIs, they start screwing with you from the day you get off that bus. And it's amazing the psyop, literally, that they put on the incoming recruits. It's scary.
It's the idea that you get strengthened to it, right?
I can tell you that the more, from the outside, when you look at people who are supposed to be, you would think in the know about the shape of the earth and these types of things, they are worked on, like you said, Bob, more, I think, than anybody else in terms of framing it and characterizing the reality of satellites, for example. The people who you would think would be so close to it that they would have to know that it's not outer space satellites. They're sometimes the ones the most convinced of it because of their compartmentalized job and the extremely strict training that uses tactics that some may consider to be questionable mind control type stuff. And there's all kinds of stories. It's a whole rabbit hole you could go down, looking into it. But there are a lot of people that share stories about not remembering certain spaces of time and things like that, lost time stuff, and finding themselves at a base or in a different location than they thought they had no plan. They just kind of wind up there and kind of come to walking around. So it's just weird stuff like that, especially when you get into the certain arms and branches of, and I'm sure that Space Force will have the most of that. I mean, signing up and going into Space Force, I would, it could be great, but it could also be really terrible, and
everybody's got to
rights.
I was thinking today, just looking at Kubrick's films, just wanted to refresh my mind, and I realized that he had the full leather jacket. Remember this Full Metal jacket?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And that is talking exactly about this, trauma in the military, and then his other films. It's strangely enough, it starts with Lolita. Some of his kind of mainstream really career, and with Peter Sellers. So the first Lolita, and what he continues to explain, that is the kind of pedophilia kind of backdrop. People, it has a kind of kidnaps, pretends to be the father of this 14-year-old that he's in love with, and so on. That's a whole story, and this is something that we see turning out now, right? And then he has the one not Barry Lyndon, the one that's about the bomb, how I learned to not be afraid of the bomb, which is pointing to another kind of hoax with the bombs and how they control people by fear. Then The Shining is the Apollo moon landings. Clockwork Orange is MK Ultra mind control.
Right.
And it goes on.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut is how he gets killed. And after that, there's AI, which is taken over by Spielberg, of all people, while he was sort of working on, which is exposing the transhumanist agenda. So, what a... there's a lot there to still to reflect, I think. And I, if I'm not mistaken, you guys must remember this better than I do. I'm pretty sure Russian Vids has shown in Metal Jacket the 33s, the double 33s, and all over the place of symbolism. Some of the names, I know in Lolita, I know that he has a name for one thing. It's like CC. It's like a ranch that's like a CC name, and it's quite odd. It just strikes you as odd. So you see that he's hidden. For some reason I think he understood that people are going to be able to figure this out.
Yeah, he put so many clues in everything. I mean, I think it's amazing too. You talked about The Shining being, talking about the moon landings, but it's funny that the name even itself, The Shining, and of course, a lot of us have a belief of the moon shining.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I haven't even thought about that, but that makes perfect sense. The maquettes that he added to it, a lot of people don't even talk about that. When you see the maquette of the labyrinth, that's added. It's not in the book at all. All the changes from the book are all telling. The Tang, even the Tang drink, the deal with the when he gets the job he's talking with the president of the United States. It looks like Kennedy.
What's got the eagle in the background?
Ego, everything.
And then you've got, all the changes from the book, the 237.
The tapestry.
Room 237, which isn't from the book either.
Yeah, then you go into the pretty odd, like when he shows you the moon room with the boy coming up with just saying Apollo 11, or like he can get more explicit than that, right? That's obviously not in the book at all. I mean, the whole story, the whole idea that in the film you get the impression that, which is quite disturbing, that he's pretending to write this play, and all he's doing is writing the same phrase. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and that's not in the book at all. In the book, he's writing a play. He knows how to write a play. He is writing a play in the book, and then, from the get-go.
That's not in the book either, right? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I don't think that's in the book.
Not at all. The play, this whole thing that he does, he's not able to write a play. That whole scene where she has the club and everything, that's not there. It goes into completely different directions because he is writing a play.
Right.
He has a play that has characters and everything, and he is an English teacher in that book.
And when he's typing that, I think if I remember seeing right too, that when he writes all, it's A11.
A11, yeah. A11, and there's some other. I was starting to take a look at the typos in those pages. There's some other points you can make, but yeah, the whole scene is very emphatic. Like it shows many pages turning. He's making big point there. It is, and also the way he spliced the film in half so that you can see.
Supposedly the daughter of Stanley Kubrick says no, my father he didn't participate with NASA, and he didn't fake the moon landing and blah blah blah. The daughter. I mean, that's at that time maybe she only have 2 years old, but.
There's a documentary out there about 2001, A Space Odyssey, the making of it, that includes this clip. It's banned and it gets scrubbed from the internet, but I happen to see it, and it's like a presentation from the film company, and it basically reveals how NASA was working with them. The government was basically calling the shots in the making of 2001: A Space Odyssey already.
Well, he already had the contracts with the lenses before. Like even in Wikipedia they tell you that he was working with NASA. I think from the time of the bomb or before that film. I don't know if it's even Lolita period. He was already working with them. He knew them.
Yeah. So it's like a state media film. It just most people don't realize that. But of course, he got in trouble for kind of intimating that a little bit too much in the end.
And of course, like we mentioned the other time as well, if you remember your AP as well, of course, the Werner von Braun's, that round donut station that has centrifugal force, for gravity and whatnot. Right. That Kubrick did the exact same thing in 2001. And Arthur C. Clarke is the guy who came up with the satellite story. And I think, who is it that showed the clip of him reacting to how he reacts? People say, "Yeah, you invented a satellite," and he laughs and stuff.
Eero showed that.
Eero showed it, yeah. So you see, it's just.
We did get a couple super chats. Miguel Beaumont says, "Good job, guys. Thank you very much, Miguel." And Will Hall says, "NASA's next move is to fake a space station disaster." Well, they've already done that a few times with holes in the wall that you can plug up with your finger or duct tape. But I'm just looking here at images, and people have written entire books about Stanley Kubrick and his one-point perspective, which is, what we've talked about over and over again. I mean, how often do we use the word perspective? But he's
also making points about perspective on purpose.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's no way. I mean, somebody like that, even actors or other directors will tell you that every single thing that he did in his movies was for a reason. It wasn't just, we're going to go film this scene. I mean, it had to be perfect. And you can see all these, like you said, it is in with Gomer Pyle. Clockwork Orange has a lot. Of course, Space Odyssey has a bunch. Of course, The Shining has a ton. It's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in music school, in film school, like that in production, it's exactly what you're saying. That's what they're taught, to be very meticulous about every single shot. And that's why I have art directors and so on and so forth. But he was some sort of hermit that lived locked in a mansion, and he apparently took over the artistic direction of the whole thing. He was very, he had the whole plan laid out. So imagine how much time he spent transforming that book into this, because also Stephen King hated it. And that's the point that Steven Spielberg makes in this film, the Ready Player One, that has a whole section dedicated to The Shining inside Ready Player One. And a number of, when they go into they get into this fake Shining scene, they go into the set of The Shining in that film, in the Spielberg film, and into the moon room and everything, and also the typewriter. But when the typewriter appears in Ready Player One, there's a key being written in the typewriter. And it is described there as a film that the maker, it's like a guess game kind of treasure hunt, the whole thing, looking for the Easter egg, which is the whole theme of Ready Player One. And they have to figure out, what film is that the person who actually wrote it hated the film. And it was The Shining, because Stephen King, the changes are so dramatic that they mangled the book for no reason, which is already a big red flag that this guy is up to something, right? You don't need to go to all those lengths to transform a book that was already good by Stephen King, with things so ridiculous as changing the color of the buggy car, and then showing another one, which is the color from the book, being destroyed by a semi-truck along the road. That's, obviously sending a message. So,
got another super chat from I Am Lone Frog. It says, "Love in the lounge. Thanks, fellas." And then Third Eye Open says, "Are you guys going to address the Black Swan image? Nathan Oakley and company think you guys don't understand the significance." No, we already talked about it. I think the first half of the show we talked about it.
Just because they beat it to death, I got news for you guys. The Black Swan image was discussed in Globebusters chat long before Ben even released that video. I mean, forgive me for saying this, but it's kind of old news. And as Ben so astutely, observed, it's not a black swan. It's an everyday swan. There's nothing that extraordinary about it. But some people just want to make their fame and fortune, and act as if they discovered it and, really talk it up. And that's great. It's a wonderful proof.
Right.
But there's a million other proofs. And, we don't need to be talking about it 24/7 like other channels do. To us, it's just another one of those great proofs. And great proofs are brought up by flat earthers every single day. And, I just, as great as it is, I don't think that it's something that we need to, beat to death, honestly.
No, I just hope people go out and keep doing these kind of observations. And I think Austin talked about it earlier. It is one that you can just bring up as often as you want, and they have no answer for it. And it's like a lot of things. They just don't have an answer for this edge of a sphere. It's supposed to be there. And if you can see beyond it, this is a problem for them, and they have no way out. And we talked about that the first half of this show. We talked about it with Ben on, was that Sunday or last Friday? Must have been Sunday if Ben was on, I think. Was it Sunday?
Yeah, it was Sunday because that was the day I had to work.
Right. So check, if you want to hear about it, we talked all about it at the Globebusterish show. We talked about it on Monday Night Raw. So we've gone over it a million times, and I think it's important. Check out, Ben's video. But I agree with Ben. It's not, at least from my understanding of what a black swan is, it's not like a one-off. It's as much as if you go out and do these observations, you'll see it time and time again. It's your everyday swan. Unless you're talking about, a black swan as far as it's something that the globe earthers can't respond to. In that case, well, then maybe.
Right. Well, a black swan is supposedly an exception to the rule. This is not an exception to the rule. This is the rule, right? So, it's a terrible misnomer, I think, to be calling it a black swan. There's so many other photographs.
The globe is an ugly duckling. How about that?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't belong.
Exactly. And we've certainly covered it on Globebusters. I mean, everybody's covered it. It's just not something that has to be addressed every single day. It's, got to move on.
Or every single second.
Right.
Are you guys going to be talking about addressing it at this particular second? And for anybody, it says Nathan Oakland Company don't think you guys understand the significance. Then they're not watching the show. Then they're not listening to what we're saying. It's that easy. Because if they did, they would see clearly that we keep saying over and over again, yeah, it's great evidence. It's the same kind of thing we see all the time.
As someone who's totally from the outside, I don't follow Nathan, don't pay attention. When I heard black swan, I actually thought it was like a swan appearing in a picture and making some sort of distortion. Actually, so you see how off I was. Right. Then I realized that it's a English language metaphor for something that's unusual. And I was like, wow, what am I going to see? And then what I saw is the horizon beyond the horizon that we've known for so long. Jay Toland, so many others. It's been a while. So my impression was just like, what's the fuss all about? So it's basically just drama, apparently.
Yeah, well, right? There's no need for that. I mean, it's just, I think it's great as much as it can be brought up. I mean, it's fine. If other people want to harp on it day after day, that's great. I think we talked about it last Friday. Now I'm thinking about it. Remember, I had Karen describe it to you last Friday, right, Rodrigo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been discussed, so it's kind of funny. Are you guys going to address? It's like, yeah, we have been and continue to. And I think now that people have seen it, more people will get out and do more observations like that. And we talked about it ad nauseum basically last Friday when I kept saying that the reason why this is a good spot is because we know the distances to those platforms.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
That's the hard thing about going out and looking at a boat off in the distance. You don't know the distance to that boat. So it's very hard to ever say to somebody, hey, look, we're seeing a horizon, we're seeing water behind that boat, and that boat should be at a certain point. It's very hard to say that because you can't prove to anybody. And even for me, I don't think it's very good proof when people show a boat and then they'll go to like some, I don't know, nautical chart that says like where that boat is at that time. I always look at that. I'm like, I don't know if I really agree with that.
The distances to platforms are known, the distances to islands and so on. But I remember months ago somebody making very similar observations from platforms in, I think, Scotland or Ireland. And I think Ben maybe showcasing that, but it was months ago, and it's the same kind of stuff.
Yep, and there's evidence out there everywhere. But you've been talking about it a little bit too, Austin, lately? Oh, I don't know if Austin's there.
Who? Austin.
But no, because it's just another great one that you can, I don't know, show in the face of Globers over and over again. but it's certainly not a one-off. It is something anybody can go see. It's just you have to find that right location, or at least have platforms that you know the distance to. Or I kept trying to bring up on my computer, for some reason I can't get Google Earth Pro to open today. It keeps opening, but I don't get any map image.
Oh, that's weird. Let me
I have a few questions from a friend of mine who does a PhD in like political thought.
Oh, there he goes. It came up, Bob. Sorry.
And I wonder what you guys think. He's saying, what would it take for scientists to accept flat Earth as plausible in terms of proofs of if that would be possible? He's asking. I think he's realizing what's going on.
Oh, I know the answer. It would take them not being worried about losing their job.
Right.
That's all it would take.
Right.
Which is hard. I mean, it's the same thing with pilots. I mean, after you've seen what's happened to different pilots who have come out, how can you take that chance if that's your profession? I mean, think how much money people put into flight school and paying for their pilot's license, and then they get a job with some airline. The last thing they're going to do is just come out and say, oh, I think that the Earth could possibly be flat based on what I've seen flying. If that means the end of your career, they're going to,
Yeah, we saw it happen with the guy who came out in Spain. Now he's being persecuted by trolls, the airplane pilot, the commercial airplane pilot, because there's a bunch of them flat earthers that Zero is shown. And then he's asking here, what would be the benefits of a paradigm shift where the model or the models of the flat earth would substitute the heliocentrism, he's asking.
Oh, I think they would be huge. I mean, it's more about the realization that we've been lied to on such a massive level. That, to me, is the hugest thing. Because, you can see that you've been lied to here and there, but a lot of people just accept that or move on. And with something this large, it just tells you how institutionalized education is an issue. I mean, it really explains a lot.
Yep. Can you imagine? I mean, honestly, if you had a scientific organization like Los Alamos, for example, and by the way, guys, there are scientists that are working at Los Alamos that are flat earthers. We know this for a fact. Okay. But just imagine if all of a sudden the head of the Los Alamos National Labs, who probably already knows anyway, said to all the science staff, one day, okay, you know what? We're going to really look into this flat Earth, and we want the truth. We don't, and nobody has any fear to lose on their jobs, pro or con, whatever, and just let them run with it. Wow, can you imagine what that would be like? Of course, it'll never happen, but we can dream.
It happens at a high level when they get to the point that they are going to realize that it's going to affect the job, and I've heard it a number of times about how that has taken place. And I think, Jaron, you interviewed somebody who worked at NASA one time,
right? If
I'm remembering right, who said it was kind of like I think it was a woman. She said, kind of jokingly, like, "Boy, it's almost like the Earth is flat" or something, and then somebody.
Right,
who's like her mentor kind of said, kind of came over and said,
right.
Sometimes it's, maybe we can talk about that or something, just kind of eased into it, like without committing, not actually saying it.
Right.
And I think that happens probably a lot more than you hear about for sure. Yeah.
I'm just
because they have to at some point, like you have these redundant systems for everything with satellites, and then somebody's going to be like, well, why do we even bother with the satellite? We have all these redundancies for every single function on it that is ground-based. What's the point? How do we even know that it's the satellite? Well, hey, where are you going to lunch? Let's go to lunch together. We'll talk, That they have to tell them at some point. They're going to realize it.
Yeah, so they start asking questions. Well, I have this something happened. I don't know what. A really good friend of mine who visited me even in Portugal was an engineer, started working for Honeywell, and then he got really disillusioned and decided to drop out of everything. He got this kind of dream job in aerospace industry. He was an engineer, and then suddenly he decided that he didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I wonder what the hell he saw, and I don't think he's going to share it. He just basically disappeared when I started dealing with this material. really don't know what happened to him, but it would be interesting to get some insight on what's going on, what might be going on inside these companies, because they're so, linked with the Department of Defense and NASA, and they're part of the same group, right? The industrial and complex.
Yeah, like one huge lie kind of intersects with other ones too. Like if you look at how NASA works with different agencies, it seems to be around these things that the truth community has something to say about. Like if it's involving weather events and NASA involves themselves with the weather events, it's like, okay. And then when NASA's involving themselves with aircraft, it just so happens to link in with a lot of things with like the aircraft hitting the tower, just things like that. You just, if once you start noticing how many times NASA pops up, all of a sudden, oh, well, you're examining fuel exploding from a plane,
or from the International Space Station.
NASA's footage and stuff like that.
Yeah, they get it from the International Space Station. Everything, every disaster, they managed to get the station right on top of it. It's incredible. And this guy, the Parmitano guy who just came down, he just came down from this deceleration of 10, 20 times the speed of sound to nothing, and he's smiling and giving interviews already. And he was talking about how Earth is so fragile, and he thought he was going to have this wonderful time sharing engineering and the good things, but there were so many disasters on the Earth and so many fires and so many floods that he, now he's just spreading the word and how fragile it is. Maybe we can still revert it, and so on and so forth. So the same kind of lines. Total propaganda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at Google Earth, just showing people, where you can do some of those observations if you want to talk about the sphere edge. One of the ones I'm looking at doing, the only problem is I think it's much better in a lake, right, than the ocean. I think Taboo showed that quite well, but, this is the Monterey Bay, about 2.5 hours from where I'm at. But, there's a couple places here. This is where Moss Landing is, where the smokestacks are. If people remember the mirror observation, the mirror flash, this is a very easy road to get to right here. You basically park in this little lot right here, climb over this little hill. You're right on the beach. And if you kind of aim your camera out in this direction, since the distance of this, is 13 miles, get your camera low enough and you will still see water beyond. And that's kind of what what the whole case is. And thank you very much for the other super chat from Third Eye. He said, just wanted to understand you guys are awesome. Thank you very much. And Will Hall says, sorry, catastrophic disaster. So we can't talk about fake space anymore on YouTube. You know what? That's a great point, man. Wow. Yeah. I've actually, I think a couple years ago I predicted that and it never came to fruition, but, I wouldn't be surprised if there was something catastrophic to happen, and then you're right. Then you really couldn't talk about it anymore. Oops, what did I do? Flew out. So this is kind of what, these observations will do is if you have a known distance there, because if you put your camera at, say, 6 feet here and shoot it off in this direction, there's no way you should be able to see any water behind this little outkick of land. If you can, then you're seeing beyond the horizon, because if you're at I guess I could do the curve calculator real quick. So what is that? 30 miles? How can that be 30 miles? Hold on. Oh, it was way past there.
That's so weird. Your tool is not showing up on the live feed, but it is on the Skype.
It's so weird. It's always been that way. Whenever I do, for whatever reason, on Real World Paint, I'm sorry, not real. I'm on OBS, that it won't show. See, even though it's in the middle. I guess I could probably open another thing, you know what I'm saying? Open another one of these, and then maybe you could find the whatever you call it, the source. I don't know. I've never really tried that.
Yeah, you probably have to share the entire screen, and maybe that would do it. But you're just sharing the window itself of Google Earth, right?
Yeah, so people can't see it. I'm just measuring it. But if you looked at that measurement, and you're going to see me go away here for a second as I try and look at the curve calculator. But if you go to a curve calculator, just a simple one, and you say, your eye height is 6 feet, and whatever, let's say we're trying to look 15 miles or whatever, calculate. So, the horizon distance from 6 feet, like we know, it should be 3 miles. So when you go out and you know the distance, like now we're back to here, that distance is 13 miles. So even if you went much shorter, and this kind of goes back to Bob remembers the 4 mile observation where he called the cops on me, that we look out this
Not everybody knows that story, Jared.
Okay, sorry.
You may have to tell it.
Man, that goes way back. Remember those days? Man, we've come quite a ways. But when we were doing a 4 mile observation, I didn't know I needed extra battery power and this and that, and my camera died, and then we just ended up kicking back on the beach for the rest of the day. And then before you know it, the cops came, like, you were running a live stream and people were worried about you. I'm like, no, we're fine. Everything's fine. Funny story. But yeah, so if you kind of go from this way looking, why is that line all jacked up? Weird. But same thing, stop doing that. Let me go back here. So like we just said, you should only see 3 miles. So if you're able to stand here and see this edge of this peninsula, but then you're able to see water past it, that's a big problem for the globe, because how can they explain that other than saying that like you said, Brenda says there's multiple horizons, some that pop up further out back than others. So yeah, this is a 7.2 miles. So again, this is something that I could go out and do that I've just never thought about doing before. So I need to do that. I think I could bring up my footage, if I remember right, from, I don't know if I'll be able to find it real quick, but when we went to the Salton Sea, if you guys remember me talking about that little outkick of land, remember? That was my aiming direction, or Salton Sea, here we go. So when we were standing here at Capri Road, and I was telling people about
had that piece of land that was closer, right?
Well, if you guys remember, I was showing footage from here that you could see the water beyond that outkick of land.
Right.
Remember that? So, I mean, that's another that, and I think, what are you supposed to be 15? I don't know what what is that distance actually? Let me redraw that because I don't know. So the distance to that outkick is about 4.98. That's a tough one because I think I was about 15 feet. So I don't know what that would put at. 15 feet, target distance. So it doesn't really matter target distance because we're looking 28 miles. Calculate. Well, yeah, same distance. I mean, it puts the horizon at 4.74, which means that the horizon should be never after that outkick. But you're able to see water well past it. And then obviously we could see the plumes from the geothermal station, which was behind that wall there. So I think more people can go out. That's an easier one to do. It is just easy. If you find I think lakes are so much better than the ocean. The ocean, you get swell, you get waves, you get all that might come into play. And obviously the waves come into play. I mean, just look at what we looked at earlier with the work that Life is Short did, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's able to just lower his camera and make a light disappear for a mere 400 feet, even though that light's 2.5 inches above the water. So when you start thinking of buildings over long distances, right, when we're looking, the same thing is here, as I've talked about. When you're down near the water here, I mean, how would you see that geothermal station? You can
and you could pick the lights from the station as well.
Right.
Which is in a lower level.
Which were those taller lights that you could see. And I think you could see them here when we got closer. We saw some posts. This one here. I had other pictures of that. So,
but that's even lower than the water, right? The actual base from that.
See, but now, that's why I think that I don't think calling it a black swan is correct, but that's why that observation of the sphere edge is important, or why people could go out and do that. Because if I would have known that, then it would have been very easy to take my camera down to the water level at this point. I never even did that. There wasn't a reason for me to go down to the water level, which, why won't this thing render up? I was only 15 feet high at the end of this Capri Road. But if I would have taken it down to the water level and then tried to see, if this is 4 miles away, I'm sure you would have seen water behind it, especially because the lake was so calm that day. So anyway, I think people can go out and do it, and we'll see more people doing it. It's just something that I don't think enough people knew about, but it certainly isn't a black swan. If 500 people went out and did observations today, there'd be 500 more. So
I think there's a lot of concentration on the distortion kind of place, the convergence area and the distortion, whereas also what's not being distorted is telling us a lot, above the distortion level and below, because I mean that's a zone of contention because the Globers try to concentrate on it and try to say that what you see is a mirage or whatever it is, that whatever creativity that they try to toss at it. But yeah, that perspective gradient, what I call it, that Life is Short has shown that you can see even in smaller distances. I think that's that's something everyone should know about, and how to do it as well themselves.
Yeah, I agree. So, sorry, do I have anything showing there? Oh, there we go. No, I was just going to look to see if I have that video. But even like we said, even if you can see the horizon beyond that, well, it's still, you shouldn't be able to. So I guess maybe I could look for it. But you were still here? Or did he leave? I know he had to go, but
No, he's still here.
Iru, any screen shares today? It's just not the same without one.
Yeah, Einstein's house.
Me?
Einstein's house.
Yeah, Einstein's house. No, I said, do you have any screen shares today?
Yes, I know that I am a little out
okay.
in terms of participation, but I'm interacting here with people inside the house. I have something to share, a little unorganized, if you want to.
Sure.
Okay. Let me just put my headphones.
Okay.
Headset or something like that. I don't know the name.
You got it. Either one.
Okay, perfect. So I just watching. Let me just make my. And maybe I just warn you. Maybe this is the baddest share screen ever. Okay.
The worst one ever.
Wow. The worst share screen ever.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
Go ahead. You're on the air here with a little magnetic tape drive or something.
Yes, because I just watching this live presentation that GPL did today, 17th hour before. It's called Beyond the Pale Blue Dot, Seeing Distant Planet. And they give this like live event presentation talking about the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 as it was like sending by God, something like that. It's the most impressive machine that GPL, ever did. So supposedly this live event is like like a conference to public to talk about the miracles that the Voyager spacecraft was capable to do. And of course they talk about the Apollo 17 blue dot and how this become the feature image on the iPhones, cellular phones and blah 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 blah. And it's about this guy was one of the at that time, I'm talking about 1970s, was behind the scenes of the Voyager. So this is like the guy who tell the story to the public. And a few things that just to put together is at 1 hour of this conference, a guy from the public asked a question about, let me go there, about, of course, the alien question is present all the time.
Oh boy.
But yeah, because this young guy give a lecture about the exoplanet and how they measure the exoplanet, how they can determine if it's possible life based on the distance from the star and blah blah blah. Yada yada yada. I must be saying blah 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 is like the equivalent in Spanish. But a guy asked how supposedly, let me just trying to find it. I believe it's here. How to supposedly the Voyager took the picture, the famous picture that Carl Sagan talks a lot about, the pale blue dot. Let me see if it's right now. The sound is sharing too.
I don't hear anything.
Okay, you can hear it.
No,
reshare with your audio.
Okay, let me just reshare. And I warned you, man. This could be the worst ever share screen.
You're on pace
Okay.
right now for it.
Okay, again.
Fairly often is why can't the
good now.
Voyager's cameras back on?
Okay. So this is one of the questions that triggered me.
It triggered me.
Now, Rich, we get this question a lot, and fairly often is why can't the Voyagers turn their cameras back on? I mean, even if that picture of the sun didn't burn Voyager 1's camera out, why don't you take another photo from further away 30 years on?
It's a terrific question, and I've asked the question myself. There are a number of reasons. The primary reason is that the Voyagers run on radiothermal generators, and they have plutonium in there. It's got a finite half-life, and they've now degraded to the point where there's not enough power to turn the cameras back on. But
Wait a minute. What is this finite half-life crap? You know, that's thousands of years.
Well, hey, let them finish.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let them finish, because I'm maybe this is not one of the question that I was trying to present, but this is another great question too.
Plutonium.
Oh, I lost sound.
Yeah.
What?
I lost sound for some reason. It was working.
Wow.
Try one more
Let
time.
me just make again. That's strange. Okay. And now.
bright
Yeah.
as it was when we
Okay.
did that.
Because now the guy is going to trying to justify talking about the how with the distance the light is dimmer, and you, Bob, I believe you are like not an expert, but you made some research with that topic, so I'm gonna play.
Sun, it's 3.5 times further away than when we took that family portrait. So that does two terrible things. One of them, it makes the Earth a lot dimmer. It's only about 8% the brightness of it as it was when we took that picture. So if it were 10 DN above background, it's less than 1 right now. And
Data
DN is
number
the data
stands
number,
for
it's the amount of brightness.
amount of brightness.
Yeah. So it's 8% of the brightness, and it's also almost 4 times closer to the sun. So that puts it into a much more scattered, bright background. So even if we could run the cameras, it would be impossible to see the Earth right now with those kinds of cameras.
Right.
Okay, that is the question, but not the question that I want to present. So sorry for that. I believe is let me go back a little bit, because the question was very simple. A guy asked him how the Voyager sent the picture to the Earth. Is this one.
Hello. Thank you for the presentation, by the way. I have a Voyager question. You had mentioned it took like 6 times to convince the powers that be to take that final picture. And once you got the go, so how did you tell Voyager to take that final picture?
Well, it's a good question. You don't just tell Voyager, you have to actually design a sequence that fits into the 50 words. It actually took 49 words to make that.
Supposedly 49 words is the amount of technology that in terms of the instructions that the Voyager can receive.
So does it matter the length of the word, like at versus anti-disestablishmentarianism?
For example, that is a really good question too. But I can, if you just start looking at the body language, you're gonna start see this kind of bad feeling. It's a lot of moving from the sides. I am not well to explain in English, but the guy start to talks
very uneasy.
Yeah, because of course it hasn't any sense at all. But let me just finish play the clip.
actually took 9 words to make that experiment, and you had to
experiment.
Every specify a change in exposure time or position, it uses words. So it was a very, very difficult thing to do. There are a series of programmers that were working, and they work just in zeros and ones, because you have to, you don't use these high-level languages. You have to use every single shred. So that sequence is developed on the ground, tested on the ground, and then it's brought to these very, very large radio telescopes. It's signaled, sent up or transmitted up to the spacecraft. Spacecraft with its large antenna collects that signal, programs its computer, and then the rest is history. That's how we do it. But it's a long process. It's not just, oh, I have an idea, let's do this. I've got to translate that idea into something that actually fits into the spacecraft.
What?
Well, I know that
Hey, Rob.
that I'm making this presentation really bad, but that was because at the beginning of the presentation, the guy start, showing pictures and talking about the technology that supposedly the Voyager 1 and 2 have. And for example, this was the camera, a BD-con camera based on this cathode tube. Of course, all the time he make fun about, well, the memory for the tape recorder was 2-bit, and the amount of memory that we have is less than your the thing that you wash your teeth.
Toothbrush?
Yeah, the electronic paste, exactly. So I mean,
toothbrush.
The guy is all the time making fun about the technology of this spacecraft, and they don't talk about nothing. For example, the power for receiving and sending images, signals, but then he talks about, well, we use plutonium, so we have this limited life time period. And that simple question that the guy said, like, okay, how you instruct the Voyager to turn and take the picture? That was the explanation. And for me, it's like it's not fit in that technology. Supposedly beyond the solar system, this spacecraft received the signal, turned back, and with that kind of camera, of course, connecting to the electronic, but the electronic of this camera is really, old technology. How they send that to Earth and process that kind of signal.
The distances are
into image.
Super extreme distances.
Super
and,
extreme.
Yeah, they make that claim that the power of the transmitter from the Voyagers is the same power of a refrigerator light bulb. Yeah. And everything, and with the Earth moving and the cosmos moving, everything moving, and these guys should be questioning how exactly do you get the signals to match? How do you get the lock with their signal? It's just nuts. Yeah.
And in fact, the famous light ray that was supposedly the Earth. The Earth is. Let me just go a little forward. He's going to trying to explain that famous picture.
It's really kind of amazing. Candy Hansen, which I showed you before, this is not the Earth. This is a picture of Uranus, but I wanted to show you a raw image. Voyager raw images were kind of nasty. They have bright pixels all over the place.
It's kind of nasty, and it has all bright points, bright dots all over the place, supposedly, right?
These splotches, these are the dark Rousseau elements. If you're taking a picture of a dot and the dot is behind one of these Rousseaus, you're not going to see it. And Candy, her job was to look at this image. This image is greatly cleaned up from what it was. She couldn't find the Earth in this image.
So supposedly, at the beginning of this famous picture of the blue pale dot, nobody can see the Earth in this pink light ray. And then
For a half hour to finally
half hour
realize
later,
this little tiny splotch.
that
on
tiny
top of
white dot, it wasn't splat, from the picture, because it's
this,
that was the Earth.
this ray of scattered
So what
light
reference
is
do
the
you
Earth.
have
And
to
here's a
say
better view of that,
that is the
more
Earth?
enhanced version of that, and we zoom in on that, and you'll see it actually is a pale pink dot.
Yeah, no doubt, man. This is the planet Earth. This is not like an aircraft, articraft like this. No, this is the planet Earth.
I believe it.
No doubt about it. And then,
No doubt.
And then, if you go directly, for example, well, this is the kind of. Let me just. I'm gonna finish soon the presentation. I know that is completely nonsense, but supposedly, then you have these are real pictures, and you say, how do you obtain this quality? Passing near Jupiter or Saturn, and then you have this kind of Jupiter picture, which is clearly a painting.
Clearly
a painting. And in fact, if I not let me just very quickly show you. I have it here. Just an illusion. Because I remember that I put if I not I believe it was I have like a NASA here. This is NASA artist painting a spherical, like the same thing as Gemini mentions, where they painting the Earth. I talking about this. They use spherical things with reference, and they paint it, and then they take a picture and present it as the NASA 1972 famous blue dot. Well, the same thing, or the same technology, if you want to see it that way, because maybe for NASA these kind of things are really technological things. So they have this kind of technology, which is just a ball and an artist painting. These kind of fluid motion things. But then they say, okay, this is a Jupiter picture from Voyager 1. And you can imagine how easy it will be to do this kind of photograph if you have these mock-ups. So, I just... this is the camera, supposedly at one of the sides of the Voyager spacecraft. Then you have this is clearly a picture. A drawing, a painting. You can see this is complete. At least for me, this is just a guy who painted in a canvas. Then you have this kind of thing that I showed before, I believe was last week, when they discuss all the Saturn image sending by Voyager, and it's all mess all over the place. When you go to official data, they contradict continuously.
What about that Jupiter? Was it Jupiter that they put the auroras on top, and it was the same picture from years before?
Well, that is in our times, yeah.
Yeah, recently, but that even that they get away with that. It's amazing.
Yes, exactly. So I'm just looking at this Saturn Voyager things, and because it just was. I really like the calendar that NASA put, 41 years, 1 month, 3 days, 23 hours, and still running. Well, this is the mission's elapsed time. There is no machines to run 41 years continuously, perfectly in the vacuum of space and still sending images and pictures and signals. It's impossible.
Well, we know that they get those signals because NASA's own deep space, DSL, Deep Space Laboratory, confirms that they receive the signals. So,
yeah, man, no, they completely confirm.
They've audited themselves and found themselves to be compliant and worthy and honest and everything. So, what the hell are we doing?
So honest.
Just take their word for it, man.
Yeah. Look at this.
It's only 13 billion. Right? It's only 13 billion kilometers away, so it's easy to make a transmission.
Yeah,
of course.
It was a remote start to retask it, to point it back so it could receive signals, which is kind of a chicken and egg thing. But never mind that. Remote starting anything from that far after that long is in liquid propelled rocketry, and I still don't understand the power plant on this thing. It's nuclear, but does it like run a steam turbine, or I don't know how it generates electricity. Maybe somebody knows, but I'm at a loss.
And they also, for example, with this Voyager passing close to Saturn, they can predict the weather in Saturn, and then they can transfer that to understanding the weather here on the Earth. Because if you study the Saturn's weather, of course you're gonna be more. So let me just play this video. It's
ridiculous.
It's the global warming of the Saturn planet.
Is a full-scale mock-up of the Voyager spacecraft, really rather small when you think about it for something that's traveled literally billions of miles. It weighs just a ton, about the same as a Ford Escort. There are two cameras on board, one with a long lens, one a wide angle, and they'll produce detailed pictures of an area the size of Hyde Park. The photographs themselves are made up of 800 lines by 800 lines. Pictures already in.
This is the kind of image that I presented before. I mean, this is like a part of documentary, but this is the kind of software that supposedly transform the signal into images. I mean, because I don't understand the software in the 70s to produce this kind of image 13 billion miles away.
Yeah, without carrying along a mainframe computer, right?
Exactly. With only 49 words of code.
I know, it's so ridiculous. And the thing I was laughing at when he was talking about, we the plutonium or whatever it is only has such a life half-life, right? So it can only generate so much power. It's like, guys, the half-life of plutonium is thousands of years, right? It's only been out there for what, 40? Something like that, 30, 40.
Yes.
It's just utterly ridiculous to be claiming that's the problem. Oh, it ran out of power. So stupid.
But how did they get power out of plutonium like that? I mean, what's the mechanism of action?
Back to the Future.
Yeah, well, it's got its own nuclear reactor on board, obviously, right?
Yeah, man. It's you can travel in time.
It's easy for
with
NASA.
plutonium.
Do whatever they want.
And the guy is going to talking about the weather of Saturn.
And computer analyzed have told scientists that the weather on Saturn has changed and it's now being lashed by cyclones. But I asked Dr.
I know the volume is low, but that is the original audio. But the guy said the scientists know that the weather in Saturn change and form cyclones. What?
The weather.
This is good stuff, man.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. Let me just finish.
Meteorologist on can it help us planet Earth any better?
Oh yes, and certainly in terms of the weather systems, we see climatic changes on the Earth. The sudden changes now, appalling summer in London. In the 9 months since the Voyager spacecraft have been to Saturn, we've seen tremendous changes, development of these new cyclones that have been seen just a few days ago in the northern hemisphere of Saturn. Understanding those problems...
Get out. Get out. Wait a second. So understanding the cyclones that are on Saturn are going to help them understand the cyclones that are on Earth? Get
in the north of Saturn, in the north region. And no, of course, after this guy predict all the hurricanes here on Earth.
Oh God!
They avoid every catastrophe.
Thank goodness.
It's enough.
Katrina never came. Thank goodness for Saturn.
Thank goodness for Saturn. As if they're monitoring everything that's happening in the different regions of Saturn and how it corresponds to something happening here. And, the Saturn for them stands for, according to Fritz Springmeier, it stands for Satan. And they're kind of, that's why you see Saturn everywhere.
Well, they love Saturn.
But this is the amazing story behind Voyager 1, Voyager 2, and this amazing painting hand by hand, or this camera that produced these amazing images. But we still not are capable to transmit a decent, I am not talking about 4K, a decent image from the ISS in 2020. So it's amazing.
I don't know if that's fair.
sharing
They've only been up there 20 years. Give them a little more time.
Only 20 years.
Right. Give them a little more time. Exactly. After 8 years, maybe more, then everything will be perfect. Just hang around. I always say, what good can come of it? Because I don't understand what good can come of this.
I really recommend, if you want to get fun, see this Beyond the Pale Blue Dot, because even the maneuver. Because let me just finish with this. When and this is a masterpiece. Look this acting, please. Take a look of this acting.
There was a film crew there from a KCET film called The Astronomers, and they were filming me and Brad for part of that series. And I just had maybe a few too many champagnes celebrating this thing, but this is what it was like. If I really think about what's happened in the last few days, it's intellectually perhaps one of the most stimulating times of my life. Emotionally, it's one of the saddest. I've been here for the last 10 years. I've worked on this mission and always anticipated one encounter after the next, realizing they'd be fantastic, realizing that there'd be things totally unexpected. And it's over. We've done it. We've finished the first reconnaissance of the entire solar system. We've rewritten the textbooks. What do you do next?
What do you do next?
Hero!
You write a better script. That's what you do next.
Exactly, man. I mean, no, but we finished the first complete solar system recognized, whatever.
Reconnaissance. Oh goodness.
Yeah. And what
they do everything now.
Now, at 77, they know everything. They know everything about our solar system because they paint a few pictures, and they
that
know.
Diagram really shows how much they know. That diagram, it makes it clear how much they know.
Right. Now I believe it. I believe it.
Exactly, and they calculate all the orbital periods to
right,
the Voyager get these close encounters with the planets at the a specific time, a specific position in space, with 49 words of code.
Mm-hmm. Look at the angle on that one where it's going up like that. Because the solar system's a flat disk, and they went up at an angle like away. How did they get those gravity boost assists from the planet?
Right. Doesn't seem to work. Plutonium base.
Those are those special Z-axis boosters.
Exactly. So this was the years, the final image, the final day of the mission was supposedly February of 1990, and the thing is, when Carl Sagan decides to say, "Hey, this is our final opportunity. We need to take the picture from to Earth now, because after this we don't have, let me just point it. Let me just play, and because these guys speak better than me the English, so."
was involved in actually getting the idea that instead of just taking a picture of the Earth, we could take a picture of multiple objects, and by this time he developed an idea to take a picture of the entire solar system using the wide angle and narrow angle cameras. We're now far enough from the sun where we wouldn't destroy or burn up the other instruments, and that was a real concern. We needed to use some of these other instruments for calibration, for other things, and nobody wanted to do that. Nobody got behind this. Ed Stone was not supportive until the 6th attempt, when it was our last chance. It was the absolute last chance because the teams were going to go way after Neptune. We would not have the capability to do that. Last chance, all right, let's do it. So the only other stumbling block was it's going to cost $2.2 million because of all the complexity of having to develop a sequence and analysis, getting the data on the ground. Where are we going to get that?
2.2 million for the 49 code line to turn the Voyager, take the picture, and send to the Earth. So that is like an extra cost. You can imagine that in terms of real life, because Carl Sagan said, you just do it, I'm going to take the money. Let me just play that part.
Of having to develop a sequence and analysis, getting the data on the ground, where are we going to get that money? This was the sequence that was designed. It was a series of wide-angle camera views all the way from Neptune into the inner part of the solar system. Nobody ever pointed the camera within 15 degrees of the sun. That was a constraint. Now we're going to point it at the sun. Fortunately, it'll be the last pictures that Voyager ever takes, so if we burn up the camera, we don't really care. But nevertheless, it's tough. We didn't know what the camera was going to respond to, how much scattered light there was going to be over there. So that was a concern. $2.2 million. It turned out that Norm Hayes, the project manager, Ed Stone, and the assistant administrator of NASA, Len Fisk, were at the Athenaeum at Caltech, and Carl and Ed Stone came and talked to him. And they convinced him, Carl convinced him very, very eloquently that we really have to take this image. It was the last chance. He said, you do it, I'll find you the money.
Amazing. You do it, I find the money. But if you transfer that, this is my interpretation, right? But I mean, if you transfer that in real life, okay, you ask for money at the beginning of the mission, and then every single idea that at the Hollywood style appears in your mind, you're going to ask for more money and more money. And now I go into the Congress or some kind of public university and said, give me $2.2 million because we need to create a line code to turn 180 degrees the Voyager and take a picture. And that picture, you can even see it because when you go to, there is nothing there. Assuming that this is a real picture, of course. But then suddenly, after 30 minutes, we make a zoom and we contrast the image, and there you have it. $2.2 million for that white point. Amazing.
I can almost see Iru right there.
Man.
Upside down at the bottom.
Yeah, no, it's that is why I believe Donald Trump said in that statement, and I cannot say exactly, but how I sometimes I wonder how we're gonna do it without space, something like that he said, because it's like a blank check.
Absolutely, it always has been for
Absolutely. Them. Without any kind of real proofs, because if you're going to ask for cure cancer, something like that, well, you need to really present. And not even with the cancer, but put the example that you want. But with space, you just contract artists, painting balls, and now it's all made by computer. So you can, ask money, and money, and this is the kind of proof for support $2.2 million of the 70s.
And you can send cameras into this simulation, computer simulations. It's really fun. And you can make the Mars rover supposed to last just a year, and it just keeps going and going. Why? Because they can just ask for more money at the end of every year. Oh, we need more money to keep it going. We need more money. It's not doing anything. It's not proving anything. It's not showing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the scam has evolved to the point that they have the CubeSats, right?
Yes, the CubeSats.
Which is an extreme.
Yeah, and I see, and I didn't have here, but UAP like 1 year ago, he showed, and I look into the complete session. You showed this guy in the Congress asking for money for the, I believe was the Discovery, the Epic Discovery satellite, and they are like, they are wizards.
Yeah.
They're wizards asking for money.
Well, yeah, it's
an art form.
He's saying that we haven't had a clear view, a single picture of the Earth since Apollo 17. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, what? And so they have to do this discover thing, and it's that thing came and went. When they actually finished it, nobody noticed. I'm sure the social media footprint was huge, but in real terms, it's just meaningless. And I don't even see the photos of the globe. There's no live stream thing. There's nothing like that from it.
No, we've never seen anything like that, and that's the whole thing that's remarkable. What an opportunity Voyager would have had to show Earth as departing the solar system, every single planet, and they come up with these CGI images, for everything else in the solar system, but of course Earth. The biggest thing that everybody would really like to see, especially in context, is completely left out of the equation. It's so obvious. Why can't the ballers see that? Why do they continue to defend it? And it makes us as flat earthers crazy. It's like, how can you people be so damn blind?
Well, why isn't it a problem when you go on Google Earth and you spin it down and you zoom in on the South Pole? I want to see the top of Amundsen Scott South Pole Station. I want to see people there waving up to me from the satellite, or even just a photograph from Google Earth. But there's nothing. It's just CGI spawn from like a video game, like a low graphic
like a
video
stitch
game.
job.
Yeah, those penguins are top secret, man.
And that's just a deal breaker right there. Anybody who can come to terms with some facts about what we're saying, right, can just go on Google Earth and zoom in on the South Pole and ask themselves, why in the heck doesn't that base show up? I can zoom in on my house, the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station at the geographic South Pole is a famous international location that's so really real that we should be able to see it, but we can't. And that would just be enough right there. It ought to be. And countless other things.
Yeah. I just looked up the Discover right now, and it says it is temporarily in safe mode. It is expected to return to operation in 2020. Safe mode.
It is 2020.
Why would it be in safe mode, though? I mean, isn't it at the Lagrange point? Shouldn't have to be very safe.
I never understand the Lagrange points. I mean,
it's dumb.
It's
mathematics
but in terms
stupidity.
of the precise, the precision that because the bubble of these Lagrange points, how measure? Because you cannot expect that you send a satellite exactly to a point in the middle of 1 million kilometers away, and the satellite is going to be stable.
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid, man. I mean,
it's so sad. It doesn't even make sense. It's like you can't even. How are you measuring your traveling distance? There's no ground. So how are you getting to that exact point?
You're not going to snap as a magnetic field. I mean, it's not. We are close to the Lagrange point, and pluck, and you snap there, and okay, we did it.
No.
And it's like balancing on a moving knife edge, because with all the planetary motions, you're being pulled around. And how are you going to stay on that balance point and not be sucked one way or another, if it were real anyway? It's absolutely
Whee!
No, it's insane. It's completely insane. But in this conference,
there's
the guy.
No, there's also that point that anything that's going, even geostationary satellites, they have to keep up with the rotation of the Earth, and they are ahead of the Earth at some point and behind the Earth at some other points, right, as the Earth travels around the sun. So they have to accelerate and decelerate. I think there's a point that was made a while ago in Globebusters as well.
Yeah, the wobble, and then with the gravitic influence of the moon. There's too many things that would knock it out of stability.
Exactly. No, it's and in fact, the guy in this lecture, he said, Carl Sagan convinced people to, give him the money, and that is exactly what happened now in our days. Because I trying to find and sorry because I am not in my studio, but I trying to find that piece of video that you show UAP when all the congresses. Or I don't know how to pronounce it, the people that work in Congress working for NASA. And when you go to that kind of real life event and you pay attention how these guys trying to convince the Congress for the money, it's like the same thing like Carl Sagan did in this case, and other people, thousands of people, they hired this kind of lobbying. No, they are lobbyists.
Yeah, lobbyist.
Yeah.
Because if you are not good at storytelling, you're not going to receive even a penny.
Yeah, I think it's predetermined anyway, and it's just theater, like so much that goes on there. But of course, I'm more cynical than most about it. But,
thank you, by the way, for the super chats. Mark W., Commercial Sound and Video, says, thank you guys for keeping Flat Earth drama free. Yeah, we tried that. And then Joe Mama, thank you so much, man. You're the man.
Man, thank you so much, Joe Mama.
$50 in the hopes that somebody on our team buys beer with it tonight, or maybe figures something else out that calls nonsense on the whole story we were fed as children. Love you all. Joe Mama, you're the man.
Yeah, he is. Joe Mama's awesome.
Another thing on the point that Ido just made on politicians, and you see, Cruz, for instance, is a senator promoting NASA, and many politicians that show up. Sorry?
So he's from Texas, man. He's got to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's that, and there's also what they really there for, which is patriotism. And the myth of the state and the United States first everywhere, and NASA is perfect myth making, patriotism, sort of Apollo effect, whatever they call it, machine that they inherited really from Hitler. The propaganda apparatus.
Yep. Hey, can we take a really quick sidetrack? I want to address something really quick.
Stop sharing.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. There's a guy in the chat, Austin Sweet, who had written me an email about doing an experiment, and I just kind of wanted to touch on it. You guys remember Mitchell from Australia, who was going to do that experiment with the fishing line? Remember that he got the super high test strength fishing line that was slightly buoyant, and his idea was to take it across a few miles of lake,
right,
and all that stuff. That's kind of what this Austin guy had suggested, but I wanted to let you know, Austin, that Mitchell from Australia tried to do that, and he went through a bunch of rigmaroles trying to get the correct test strength, and I'm not sure exactly whatever became of that, other than they sent him the wrong test strength, but I don't know if he ever went back and tried to get the correct test strength. But the idea behind the experiment was to do just that, stretch it across a long area of lake and pull it taut, and then if there was curvature there, the line would sink just slightly in the center, right, where there's supposed to be a bulge. But like I said, he kept getting fishing line that was supposedly, X amount of pounds test strength, and it was nowhere near that. And you would have thought that he would have returned it and said, look, this is defective. It's not coming anywhere near that. But do you guys know whatever happened to that? Jaron, did you hear any further on that?
I can't recall, but I do remember that he tried it a few times and it broke. So whatever they had sent him wasn't holding up to the test strength that it was supposed to have if you put 75 pounds of pressure on it or whatever, and he wasn't even coming close, and it was snapping. But I'd have to check with him again to see whatever came of that, because I still do think that would be a great experiment if anybody could ever do it. And I talked about it, and I just couldn't foresee a way to do it. I would change the experiment a little bit versus what I was talking about before, but I've thought about the fact that if you were able to run it 3 miles and were able to even if you could pop it out of the water, say 6 inches on both sides, and then pull it completely taut, I don't know how much what do you call it, give it would have. Is that the word, give?
Well, yes, give or stretch or something, but
yeah,
tolerance, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'd have to check with Mitchell and see if whatever came, but I know he never completed the experiment. I know he had everything planned for it, but I don't think he ever did it.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a lot of controversy, people saying it will work, it won't work. I mean, me personally, I thought that, theoretically it sounded good if the fishing line itself would have actually met its test specifications.
Right.
I think that it would have actually been very viable. Of course, we all know that there would have been no curvature found, but, this is something you've got to be able to demonstrate. And that was Mitchell's intent in doing this. And you really can't use anything like cotton rope or anything like that. That would just sink it, because I don't think people really have any idea how much, trouble or how much weight, a mile or 2 miles of anything could weigh. That's why Mitchell was going for such, high strength, very, very lightweight and strong fishing line. But I like the idea. I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, especially if you had some sort of crank on both sides where you could kind of pull it tight. And yeah, I think a lot of people, they don't, me included, even looking at that distance, I'm always thinking in my head, I'm like, man, I feel like you'd be able to stretch a piece of fishing line pretty taut across 3 miles. Now, again, once you get out and practice, you may do it and be like, oh, it's impossible. But I don't really picture it dragging on the ground if you were to set it up at a certain height above the water. Because remember, in 3 miles, there should be 72 inches of drop, and then I forgot what the bulge would be there. I think 20. I don't know what the bulge would be on that. I'd have to check.
I think a mile would have been sufficient, honestly. But as I remember right, that line didn't come anywhere near its test strength. I mean, it was way off.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what he said. He wasn't even coming close to it. But a mile, I think, has 2 inches of hump, and I always thought that was a little questionable. I think when you get to 2 miles, the bulge is a little bit more. But, I mean, if you were able to stretch it from end to end 2 miles, and you were just able to pull it taut just for a second and show that it's not touching the water anywhere, boom, you're done.
Yeah, exactly. So it would have been, and of course, you would need an absolutely, absolutely perfectly calm water,
right? Because
any wave whatsoever would invalidate it, completely. But so anyway, that's Austin, the Austin that's in the chat. That's the answer to that. It has been tried unsuccessfully, and I don't know why he gave up on it. But Mitchell from Australia, and is that still his channel name?
Yep.
Okay, I would go to his channel, Austin, and Austin Sweet. That's who I'm talking to. I would go to Mitchell from Australia's channel, and correspond with him, and maybe elaborate on it a little bit. You could save yourself a whole lot of time, money, and effort, I think, if you just kind of get it straight from the horse's mouth.
Was that his idea also, was stretching fishing line across a body of water? Is that kind of...
Essentially, yeah. And he had sent me the email about it, and he's in chat now, so
okay.
I just thought I'd touch on it while we were here.
Very cool. It's a good idea. There's a lot of good test ideas that just, the logistics of them is where you run into problems.
Yeah, I mean, you start dealing with miles of anything, it gets really cumbersome really quick.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Let me see here. I'll share my screen one more time just to...
And the people who know a lot about that are the people who are laying the cables for telecommunications, the undersea cables. Mm-hmm. It should be. I was looking a little bit into that, and there's some accidents. The only accident that happened, one of the bad ones, because of the earthquake, severed like 8 cables, and they took less than a couple months to fix it.
There was a time a shark bit one too.
That can happen, and there's been people cutting them. I was going to say, yeah, but when you look at the website for undersea cables, when they show the models of how they connect them from one continent to the other, they show you flat models. And actually, is in the Spacecraft magazine. There's a bottom of something. There's a little detail there that's what it is. It's going from one continental shelf to another from their website, which shows like in the middle, in between it, how they see it as flat. You see that with geology a lot as well. The two things.
Yes, some interesting things about the intercontinental cables. They all seem to pass over if they're in the southern hemisphere and they're going any kind of great distance, they cross over into the northern hemisphere, like flight patterns tend to do, other than the 2 or 4 questionable, sketchy ones, the ones that are always kind of offline and kind of planned or under, they're not actually probably there.
And they don't give you the accurate position of them either. They give you kind of Mercator projection, some sketchy kind of model of where they might be.
Yeah, that always bothered me ever since I was a wee lad, because those maps with the snaky motion, and why would you do that? Like, I dropped a photo in, maybe Jaron can put it up, of that I made of some airline pilots navigating. That I don't know, Jaron, if did you see the photo I dropped in the chat?
I'll bring it up.
I don't know if you can put that up, but it's just something that you never see airline pilots doing. As far as navigation, because
Let me bring it up.
Bob, you fly. Have you ever flown like that?
No.
It's a globe proof that just isn't out there, so I CGI'd that one myself right there. So, but these map projections, I think if they show the real map, it's so convincing and telling. That's why they try to get rid of that, like the Earth. The null school, that never changed, did it, guys?
That's hilarious.
That's so funny.
Somebody should send that to Wolfie.
Oh yeah, he's a pilot, right?
Stuff.
Yeah, that's been in my last couple of videos. But you never see anything like that. The globe is such of a worthless piece of crap. It's been around for over 500 years, and it's not used for navigation ever.
Yeah, I still can't get over the fact that supposedly Eratosthenes figured it out, knew the size of it, and yet it took 1,700 years till anyone actually made a globe. This doesn't make any sense at all.
Right. Yeah,
this is crazy. I actually think that in these images
or
these videos that I can actually see the water beyond that island, all the way back behind it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And what's funny, Jaron, is with now that we know the atmosphere extends out beyond the moon, so now we can say it's funny that with 250,000 miles of atmosphere, isn't it amazing that the Globers never mention a single word about refraction when it comes to the Eratosthenes experiment, right?
Yeah.
You don't even know that exists. Remember that there was the astronomer that was talking to Shelley and Wendell, and he was saying, one of the first things he says, I grew up watching the stars, and then he said, so if it's flat, why can't you see, that typical, New York or Paris from New York or whatever they would say it, which completely ignoring refraction altogether, which is sort of like what a blind spot of a tremendous proportions for somebody who's a physicist. And who has is going in supposedly prestigious. Why is astronomy so prestigious if they have such, problems with what they say is amazing.
Look how far back you can see this water behind this outkick of land. And somebody might say, oh, that's just a reflection of this or something, but you can tell it's not, because if I back it up to here, this piece of land, which doesn't have any water behind it, is because there is no water behind it. That piece of land is this is land back here.
This is your footage.
Yeah, this is my footage from the
no, that's the third horizon, Jaron. Come on, get real.
Which one? I'm getting confused with which horizon is which anymore. But this is crazy when you get all the way. Oops, where did I go there? Kind of got away from it.
So they have this kind of model where wavy horizons pop up behind one another. Is that it?
That must be their answer. I mean, they have no answer for that. And this is something, I mean, again, I'd have to go out and actually do this observation for that reason. But, I mean, that right there is huge. And, again, if we go back and look at Google Earth, here we go, transition, that what we're seeing here is this outkick of land, but I'm seeing all this water behind there.
Right.
And there's no way. I mean, we already figured it out. I'm only 15 feet high. We said that the horizon was 4-point-something miles. This outkick of land was past 5 miles, almost 6. So you're seeing beyond it. So that's what we mean, you know, that people can go out and do these. If I would have thought about this or even considered it, you know, be a different world. This is, you know, from this image here. Oops, now I got showing you the wrong thing.
All the way to the station is 28, you said?
Yeah, which is just incredible to think about. I mean, people need to, that's what I think people don't even consider. And Dave Weiss and I were talking the other day that I think sometimes when we see buildings that far or looking across, say, you know, I don't know, from to Chicago, right, from Michigan, that I think we're seeing a huge magnification effect. Huge. Because I don't think you'd be able to see things as large as they look when you're looking across water. And again, if you're seeing the lens, the atmosphere lensing, then it's going to magnify both the water behind it and the building, right? And you would have cut off from that as well. But because this image here, I mean, yeah, this plant here is 28 miles away. And people can just think of a city that's 28 miles from you. It's crazy. We've got in all my cities, there's no tall buildings really. There's like a hotel and there's like and I mean a small hotel, not like a Marriott or something. And then we've got a hospital that's probably 6 or 7 stories high, maybe 8 or 9. But the hospital, I mean, you barely have to drive a half mile away and you can't see the hospital anymore. You know? I mean, it's just, that's how quickly things get too small to see. And to think about looking at something 28 miles, I mean, just picture a city 28 miles away from you and then trying to picture seeing a building in that city. It's just incredible. I mean, and it doesn't really work looking over land to see that far unless you're up high. But down low...
Do you know how much is zooming in here to see this?
I don't think it's a full zoom, but it's pretty close. This is the P900 that's infrared converted. Oh, no. This one's not. This is a full zoom on my Sony. Sorry, I thought that was infrared. But
and how much is that? Like, is it digital zoom at this point, or is it optical?
Do I have the camera right here? Let me check. Sony. Do I know how much it zooms? I don't know. 18.2 megapixel. I don't know what the zoom is. It's a Sony CyberShot HX300V. I'd have to look it up. I don't think it's very much, but it's a great camera. I love this camera. But yeah, I mean, you can see this is that first outkick of land, and then there's a little bay here, and then you can actually see water. So I mean, you're really seeing water beyond that. And again, this wasn't the point of the observation, so I wasn't even trying to capture this. But basically, we're seeing. This is that first bay that you were looking at, but really we're seeing all this water behind it. So, and I'm guessing now. I'm just going to guess because I probably don't know, but I bet you there's no height to this land here. Let me see, 230. Yeah, it's all negative 230 feet. And that's what the water is. It's all the same.
Right at the water.
So you're actually seeing right past this outkick. You're actually just looking right over. I wouldn't doubt you're seeing this water or this water here.
Yeah, there's no way you should see any.
Well, the horizon line should be 4 miles away. Let alone, I mean, this looks like, I keep having to go back and forth here. Now I can't remember where it is. There it is. So, I mean, this is, water back behind here. And I think, where did I see a video where it goes all the way to a house there? Let me see where that was. Because if I knew where that house was, where was I? Sorry, I'm trying to find something here. No, maybe it was in a different video. Oh, there. Nope. There?
Where is this? Salton Sea or Lover's
Yeah, this is
Point?
Salton Sea.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Salton Sea. So, okay, there's just trees there and a little light. I'm looking over in this area, but I'm not getting. Let me see. Was it this one? one of these videos showed it a little better. But not seeing it now.
So you're able to pick up a house somewhere?
No, I just saw it, but I was trying to figure out. So, okay, this is good. See, I'm zooming in. So that's that first out kick right here, and then this is the one that kicks out all the way. So I was just looking at where this particular. Too fast. So I was just seeing this here. I was trying to line that up with Google Earth and see what exactly I was looking at, because I don't remember seeing any land that would be that close. Google Earth, where would there be houses out here? Oh, it must be over. Must be this stuff. Unless it's out. Oh, it actually could be over here. It's probably this. Because that would be the only thing. I mean, if you're looking down this way, there's nothing. This is just crap land, right? But I'm seeing these trees and little things here. You guys can't see what I'm trying to go back and forth.
With the infrared, you saw as for cars and the train as well, right?
Yeah, but those are, as I've shown before, the train track when you're looking this way, so is up a little bit. So we were looking from where this red line starts, Capri Road, looking across this way, and this train track runs right next to the road, but it's pretty high up. So I mean, here's the train. Oh, that's right. So there's a train image on here. So this shows it is at -181. So it's 50 feet off the water, because the water is -230. So, right there. I mean, over here it's maybe a little closer. What does this one show? -189. So it gets confusing when you're doing negative sea
Yeah,
level.
no kidding.
Jacks up your head.
The Salton Sea was like one side of the California island, right? In the old-timey maps.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, that still boggles my mind to think about that. And to me, it makes so much sense, that California was an island, and you've got, I think Salton Sea is one of the strongest evidences for that.
Me too. And I don't even think I think that when you look it up, it talks about the river, the Colorado River overflowing or something. I don't remember, but it's like the damn ocean is right here. You can actually
looks like
see,
there's a rip there.
Yeah, you can actually see kind of, and again, where you have these fertile areas. Same thing I've always talked about up here with Salinas and the Salinas River coming off of. Right. Oops, I'm way too far.
But was an island all the way to where? Only to LA, or all the way to San Francisco or something?
I think it ran through
a huge
here,
island.
all through here. I think this was all. Because this is a huge fertile area.
Valley,
all this
right?
stuff. Yeah, the valley. This is where, and Enrique's been doing some work looking across distances this way at like Pyramid Mountain. I gotta check with him. He sent me a video that looks really interesting, but I didn't understand really what he's trying to show, other than he has a bunch of images taken of the Pyramid Peak, which is over here somewhere. I don't know, one of these peaks. Basically taking it from hills over here, shooting across huge distances. A lot of people have seen Half Dome from. Is this Half Dome right here? Yeah, that's Half Dome.
It's very strange geology. It's like there's a hole there, like a basin, or in that valley there.
So this is Half Dome, and people have seen this from really far away. You can definitely see it from like close to the 99. This is the 99 that runs up here, but you can definitely see it from back over here. Especially if you just have to be a little bit. You don't even have to be high. You could be down low, and you can see Half Dome from hundreds of miles away. But yeah, I'd have to check what exactly he was trying to show. But I think more people can go out now and do some of these observations. To just take your camera down to the water level. And you just have to find, it's not always going to happen, because you have to have the good conditions. You have to have the clear, crisp conditions, not the miragey kind of, warm water or warm air. That's
so you think that hole there in Fresno, when you look at it, you think that was the bottom of the ocean then, or something?
I'm not sure. I'd have to, to do more on it, because I'm not sure. This is crazy too, because isn't this all... is this salt water or no? Lake Tahoe is not, right?
I think so.
Oh, it is?
No, Tahoe's freshwater.
Freshwater, but...
Yeah.
How about this one here? What is that? That's Pyramid Lake. I'm not sure what that is. But Salt Lake is salt, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the salt's accumulating at a steady rate, so can't you reverse time that back to the event? I don't know if anybody's tried to do that or
so maybe
about it.
I don't know. I think it would have ran through here. I mean, I think this came through here. You can kind of tell this is, real fertile through here. But I think they describe it as coming off this river.
If you go up, it was almost like the whole of Nevada could have been under the ocean or something, all the way to Oregon. I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know, the old maps show it as being an island, but who knows?
I believe it.
Yeah, me
think
too.
It was.
Yeah, me too. They certainly show that in all the old maps. But anyway, hopefully I was showing that yet. So we'll get back over to here. I was looking at some funny stuff on. Oops. When Iru was talking about Saturn, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this page I've found before. The only problem is I can't really show it on here because when you open one of these files, it opens in a separate window, and each time I'd have to add it on OBS, which would be a pain in the butt. But there's all these videos supposedly of these different missions to Saturn, and so one of the, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that they make it seem like it's real, right? This is like images and videos. Cassini's journey, but then watch this. Let me go here.
All real, man.
All real, right? I mean, look at this view here. This is one that I pulled off that page. So this is approaching Titan.
Pornographic.
Based on data from Huygens Descent Imager Spectral Radiometer and Cassini's Imaging Science System. So this is going to zoom in thanks to Cassini. This is how good the cameras are, Euro. Do you believe it?
Why I shouldn't know to believe that?
It's gonna land, right? I guess it's the. My goodness.
Yeah, I remember this, and there is also super nice the Russians landing on Venus.
Right.
And they put like a yellow filter. And supposedly, Venus is like I cannot remember exactly, but like 400 Celsius degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So how even a signal can transmit from 400 Celsius degrees? Well,
I mean, Eero could do this in 4 minutes.
Don't start putting me pressure, okay? Because every time that you show something like that, you never say. It could be this made this in 1 day. 2 minutes, man. That's.
Right. Hey, Jaron, how do you know Iru didn't do it and he's secretly working for him?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Look at the detail we can get as we zoom in.
My
here.
goodness,
it's just so great.
Yeah, I guess they get away with it by saying it's put together from data from the different kinds of machines and la 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 and whatever that should cover over the fact that this looks like some cheap video game.
It does. It looks terrible.
It does.
But the probability is that it's real, that it exists. So they just draw it based on the probability.
There you go.
And it's all the thing that it's like crap images is very strategic, because if you're trying to do realistic, maybe in the future you're going to
absolutely,
keep at the same level, and no, that is too much risk.
Yeah, it's how they did now with the Ad-Astra, making the film look like the missions from the 60s.
And like, what is this? What is this supposed to be at the end?
Exactly.
Like, is this supposed to tell us? Oh, well, it's real because there's a little circle here at the end.
What is this? I haven't seen this one actually. What the heck?
I'll put a link.
It gets worse and worse.
Oh, it does. I'll put a link to that because there's all these videos in. You can bring up any of them, but sometimes you have to save them. And then other times they open. Like, let's see if we can bring this up. No, I think it'll. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Will it bring it up? See, that brings up in a separate window, but then nobody can see it. And I'd have to create another... Yeah, see, it sucks. You guys can see it, but nobody at home can see it. I'd have to open another OBS window, and you have to do it each time because it opens in a separate window each time.
Yeah, I remember the Enceladus, how it was, even for me when I believe this stuff, it was a place that had water, and it was spewing water and so on. And when you look at the story of Enceladus... In Hesiod, that mentions Enceladus in his book, which is like 7th, 8th century BC, and tell these stories like the story of a fallen angel, cast away from heaven and so on. So very weird. They choose all these themes, like all the names of these moons are coming straight out of the first book of Hesiod. I think
it goes back hundreds of years that they've been doing that. I've been reading some really old stuff from the 1600s, supposedly written then, and they're talking about the planets, and it's really strange how occult it is, and how related it is to fallen angels and all this type of stuff, and why JPL and NASA and everybody clings to that, and there's something to it.
Yeah. Hey, Jaron, don't you have 2 monitors, don't you?
Yep.
Have you ever thought about just dedicating one to a screen share, an actual screen share, and then opening stuff that way?
I should,
kind of like what I do.
When I play videos over here, so like when I go to my pop player over here, it's open. This video player is in my other screen. So this is up on my other screen. Then also on my other screen, I've got all the super chats. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on my other monitor that you guys don't see. Right. See, that's the way I'm able to bring up. Oh, I forgot about this video.
Well, if I remember correctly, Jaron, the video card I put in that machine for you will accommodate 4 monitors.
Yeah, I don't know if my desk really accommodates it. I'll have to figure out something.
Oh, details.
I could fasten them to the wall or something. But that's a good idea. I should do that just so I can always bring up something. This is funny. I did show people in this, but I was going through some of my video footage. Did you guys see this one? This guy's.
We've been asking people how far away. Sir, do you know how far away the sun is? We've been asking people how far away the sun is.
I don't have time for this.
Thank you.
I don't have time for this.
I just love that guy. I don't know why I find that one so funny. No, I got to put some of the other ones together, but I just thought that guy was hilarious. Just
how far away the sun is? I don't have
time for this.
We've been asking people how far away the sun is.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah. Or I have no damn idea, and I don't want to look stupid.
I don't have time for this. So yeah, it's pretty nice. So this microphone works really well and records everything in a little memory card here, and then you just have to match it up to your video. Does it say
JNN for Jaron News Network on it, or what?
It says Jeranism News. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's probably not.
Sir, do you know?
There.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It says Jeranism News on there, but looks nice in person. I don't know about for video. But
that is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. We're going to do it again on Saturday, I think. It's just to go out there and have fun. And I actually thought it was worse than it was. When I went back and watched some of the footage, we did lose 2 audio files, and that sucks because the camera, that Miss is recording me with, the sound is horrendous. It's really windy in San Francisco, and you've got all the cars going by the street. You just can't hear anything. But this audio is decent. And at least, even with my back to the camera, you can still hear it well.
We've been asking people how far away the sun is.
I don't have time for this.
Thank you. Sir, do you know?
I just thought that was funny. But no, there's some good stuff in there. There's, like I said, the physicists that say that they think the moon is 15,000 kilometers. And then I say something like 7,000 miles, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And it's 9,000. Bad math off the. But anyway, I was just showing that, yeah. So I can bring up stuff like I'm looking at videos right now on my other monitor, and then I can just double click it and basically
pretty
bring
much
it
straight
over
up.
here.
You're not going to believe this. In science, we
my
always
favorite.
say that you make observations, you have a theory, you go make more observations, and it's a very, very tedious process. Wrong. Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants.
Speaking of that, I love that UAP's done
Shit
some
in your
teaching.
pants. No, sorry, man. My
You heard it
English
wrong.
is so bad, sorry.
You heard it wrong. Oh, boy. Yeah, so this people, if you've never used Pop Player, it's free, and it's pretty nice. I'm able to, let me see, can I move this, or maybe that doesn't work. Wait. See, if I pull this over, you guys can see I've got all these videos lined up over here. So I'm able to look through videos, bring things up, and just nobody sees it because it's.
What is Spot Player?
It's just a free video player. You're able to make, this is basically a playlist where I have all kinds of videos in here. So if I ever want to bring up the Tesla video or something, I can just double click it, and basically the Tesla video comes up.
Right.
But then I can just move this over right like there, and see nobody ever sees it. So, and I can do stuff over here. I can also see. I don't know. It's just a very good video player. I don't know. I don't like to use the Windows one. I don't know what everybody else uses. Do you guys use a certain video player or just the one that comes with Windows?
Usually just Windows. Sometimes VLC, but
yeah, so
usually just Windows.
This one's better than VLC.
Media player. I use a lot of media player. Media player.
If you want to try something free that works pretty well, I use Pop Player. It's pretty good. You can make multiple playlists and you can change speeds and do whatever, and it just kind of makes it easy. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Oh, I like the name.
Yeah, it's good. You know, Bob, I haven't smoked in like 2 weeks. Can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I haven't either in quite some time. It just doesn't do the same thing for me as it used to, which is
I don't know
a bummer.
what my problem is. I just,
well.
Maybe I'm going to give it up. Who knows?
Yeah, I live in the Netherlands, so I don't really have a choice.
I live in Colorado.
Yeah.
Who's forcing it down your damn throat? That's the question. All right. So I don't remember if I had anything else for today.
I paste you a video from the Spirit, NASA Spirit on Mars. And I ask you, everyone out there, because I don't know if this mission was accomplished, but because I know about the Viking mission, the Insight, the Curiosity, all that missions. I believe the Spirit's also supposedly, it's a real quote unquote mission. But when they show the landing method on Mars, right, at the 3 minute
the balloons that.
Yeah, I'm start thinking, could be other more idiotic way to land something in another planet?
With the crane and stuff? Or what is this one?
No, you're going to see it. 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Like cushions, right? Is it the cushions one that it bounces on the cushions and then it
rolls? 3 minutes. There you go.
Oh,
I mean,
this is
how
brilliant.
risk that will be in terms of the equipment and all the calibration in the... I mean, it's insane.
It's so stupid.
You are kidding. I mean, that will be the last...
Look at this thing. I've made fun of these videos before. It's like, come on. Anybody buying this is out of their mind.
Yeah, but exactly. no, this, all these kind of bouncing method... What is that?
Right, a bunch of balloons and then it rolls over and
exactly. But I mean, all the equipment inside there is gonna be suffer something. I mean, look at that.
No, none of the pieces suffer at all. None of the. Go ahead and go drop your camera in a bunch of stuff to see if it still works.
Exactly. I mean,
oh boy.
Well,
people. But the funny thing is, it never stops. It's continuously, bouncing and
it's the gravity of Mars.
It never stops.
It's the lowest lower gravity of Mars.
Yeah, that must be it. But honestly, the elites figure people will buy anything. When you can pull off something like 9/11, as blatant as 9/11, with Building 7 being predicted to demolish, and standing in the foreground while people are always, all the stuff that went on around 9/11, just the obvious stuff. The elites have got to be just laughing their ass off, going, the public are complete idiots. They will buy anything. We could tell them anything we want, and they're going to believe it. And rightfully so, because you know what? It's, for the most part, except for a few awake truthers, it's flown. They've gotten away with it. So,
boy.
No, it's crazy. I mean, and
here
perfectly,
And hear how they cut between the people. Did you do these cuts, or this is a NASA thing?
No, that was somebody else's video. That was somebody else's
video. It's a NASA thing.
Yeah,
it's a NASA thing. So they cut from the CGI to the mission control, as if it's simultaneous and stuff.
Look you can see on these lines on this graph.
Yeah. And I remember showing this before. I'm gonna send you by the chat section. I don't want to,
I'll allow a screen share. I'll allow a screen share. It's easier.
Do it.
I just have to press one button.
I'm gonna do it, but I feel so bad for the first screen sharing.
No, everybody loved it.
It was completely out of my touch,
We're going to have to get Ira a screen sharing gift card.
That will be really, really nice. Really nice.
All right,
But
are you
no,
screen sharing? No. Oh wait.
supposedly, yeah, I'm sharing. This is from the like a software for simulation, of course, before the missions, happen in real life. And this is official from GPL YouTube website, but this is supposedly a simulation of how you're going to receive image from Mars to the control room from the Curiosity. And when you start looking into this kind of simulations, how are you going to determine what is real and what is a simulation if you are just sitting on the chair in front of a computer monitor and you receive this kind of thing? This is not made by someone on YouTube. This is from the GPL.
It's exactly what they would be using for their mission control people. They'd be seeing this and believing it, and it was all pre-programmed before. Quite easy to actually pull it off.
It looks like the old ham radio slow scan TV.
Yes.
That the hams used to do.
Yeah, exactly. And they have a lot. It's called the disruption tolerant networking. And they present this method about how could you receive data, and maybe if the data was cut off for any reason, how then you can take that data and split in parts and then put all together and receive the final image and blah blah blah. But this is all simulated data before the mission happens. And they show as a process to say, okay, we are working on that because maybe we have trouble with the satellite sending data to the Earth, so we need to take care about that, blah, 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 blah. But then they show the same exactly thing in the control room. And because you are really seeing the guys in the control room, they are not making nothing. They are not made nothing. I mean, they are just waiting for the standard procedures just happen. So this is all the guys who participate in this kind of because they involve a lot of even the worst enemy like China are helping NASA.
Wow. They're trying to make people think that the world can cooperate on something other than Antarctica, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. But no, I just, because I noticed that Cheran is lost track in the show. So I try to take advantage of that. Yeah. For my screen shares,
Go ahead. You can screen share whenever you want.
Okay. No, but I just they present this kind of technology that, of course, in our real life technology, of course, we are using these kind of things for transmitting data. This is not just something that is developed just for deep space. Yeah. But the drawings, this kind of animation are amazing. I mean, of course they do on purpose.
But they can't do a 24/7 video feed from the ISS because it's on the dark side of Earth.
Yes,
I know. Exactly. That's so absurd. Dark side. What exactly does that mean, right?
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It is so dumb. I mean, especially when it goes dark, so to speak, on completely different sides of the Earth. It's just it's not even like it would be on the China side, where it goes dark every single time. Right. It just doesn't matter. It just, whenever. It's crazy. And they have the world's slowest video switcher ever.
We're switching videos. We're switching cameras. We can't get to it right now.
2 hours later.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's
at least they have clouds at night now. For like a decade, they didn't have clouds at night in their time lapses. Because they can only show a time lapse from nighttime. There's always a lot of lightning, but then they had lightning, but not really clouds. If I'm remembering right. I just don't remember seeing clouds.
I don't remember seeing anything on the live stream, but you're talking about...
No, it was
Well,
just
not on live.
Oh, gotcha.
No, it's always just
That's
afterwards.
right.
That's a time lapse.
Yeah, some of the
curve.
ISS time lapses, right?
Yeah.
That they showed storms, and I saw that some of the electric storms that they were showing in some of the time lapses, they just stayed in place, or some other layers are moving. It's really weird, like mistakes, like glitches, and stuff you can find as well.
Yeah, that was Don Pettit's work. You know, the air glow, imaging the air glow, which he described on the spot when he went off script in one interview in one of my videos. I show it. He said, "The air just glows." That's people start cringing as soon as he goes off script, and that's where the gold comedy happens.
He's walking in the aurora, right? Aurora borealis and stuff.
Well, it's funny, I was looking at the other day. Remember when Smarter Every Day did that video we've all heard, right? And then you got a leak.
Yeah. How could we forget it?
Right. The great thing is, have you seen the comments on his video? Oh, it's just great. Comment after comment after comment, just of people saying, and then you have a leak, and then people saying, isn't this the same guy who says he'd go to the moon in a nanosecond, but they threw it? It's just one after another. I mean, he must not be monitoring those comments, because there's no way he would let those up there. It's just, it's every single comment. It's so funny.
Yeah, the video I did of that one, I got a strike on,
So did
I
I.
think.
You did the
or
same
else
to me.
You did? Yeah.
Yeah, Smarter Every Day.
Smarter Every Day. It's not very kind to inquisitive minds.
No, especially when you're taking something and making a comment on it. By the same thing, then we should all strike, Simon Dam for every video he does. It's like, no, that's my footage. That's of me. We don't do that.
No, I don't care who uses Globebusters footage.
Yeah, whatever.
You should at least get the copyright from his videos, because then he doesn't get any money from it. You get it.
Yeah, but see, it's too much. I mean, who wants to do that? I mean, who has time for stuff like that? Obviously, Smarter Every Day's got a team working.
I think you press a button. No, I think you depending on how it is, you.
No, that's not. I don't think that works. You have to be in a totally different class of people. I'm not able to. It doesn't matter who uses my footage. Even if somebody put up my entire video, there's no way that I know how to try and get me money from that video. That's not
actually.
Stranger,
I do.
I'm gonna send you.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I got an email from YouTube saying that. So, go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
There's and the only reason I found out about this is from Alex, Conspiracy Music Guru. But there are services that you can hire basically, and what they do is they go out and they scan the YouTube and the web in general, or YouTube pretty much, for anybody that's using your material, and then they will kind of make the copyright claim on it, and then they will be able to draw the revenue from it.
Oh, right. But no single channel can do that, right? I can't do that for myself.
I don't know. Conspiracy Music Guru did it for his channel, but he said that he can only exempt one channel, and that's his own.
But he's using a service, is what I'm saying.
He is using a service, yes.
He's not doing it himself.
No, that's true. Not himself.
I don't even think that's what I'm saying.
No, but I think YouTube. I think YouTube offers this. I'll send you the email I got from YouTube saying exactly this. Oh, now you can scan YouTube for videos that are using parts of your videos, and you can collect.
Well, that's in the Creator Studio, Rodrigo.
That's in Creator Studio, but I don't know if you can collect revenue from it. But at least that I've seen. But I don't care to do that. If people want to use my stuff, go ahead. What am I going to do?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. I'm just glad it's getting out there. A lot of people get really offended if you use their stuff, and it's like, me, if somebody is using a clip or even a concept, anything of mine, it's like, I'm happy to see it out there because, that's really what I care about is that the information gets out there. I don't give a crap who gets credit for it.
And when people reuse my stuff, it's like most of my stuff says blocked for advertising anyway. So good luck on reusing. You're going to get the same thing.
Yeah, right.
You're just going to get the same.
Yeah, I mean, in the Brazilian group, the Flat Earth group that I have access in on Facebook, which is like hundreds of thousands of people. When I posted the translation I made of your film, they said that they never seen that happen ever before. This film got blocked before I even finished uploading.
Yeah, I mean, Bob did the same thing. He loaded it on Globebusters, and we got various types of blocks. And the weirdest one that I think is really telling, and I've seen it so many times now, is if I do a copyright something in my video. So say I've got, I don't know, Michio Kaku in an interview or something, and and he's in my video or whatever. I've seen it. Well, the very first thing I post the video, and then I'll get a copyright, and it will say, this channel's making money from your video. It's like, okay. And then if I contest that at all, and let's say it's down the road, 15 days, 16 days down the road, and then I contest that, if for whatever reason they drop it, then the next thing that comes up is it's not eligible for ad revenue.
Strike. But
you're like, wait a second, how was it eligible for ad revenue before I wanted it? Right?
Because they're not you.
Right, exactly. It happens all the time. Anybody who's got a channel will tell you that that's what happens, is that if somebody else is making money off it, they don't have a problem with that. And then the second it's me, then they say, oh, no, you're just not eligible for ad revenue. It's like, but it must have been for the previous 16 days because you said that they were getting the revenue. It's just funny. It takes me back to that email I got a long time ago. It said, you will not make money doing this. Keep going.
Mm-hmm. Double standards all along.
All right, thank you very much. So, what are you going to do?
Yep. Well, when you're over the mark, that's the way it happens.
Yeah. Yep. So, Rodrigo, you want to... you can talk a little bit about Spacecraft Magazine if you want, or if you want to do a solo thing on my channel, I'm up for that too. Maybe Thursday next week. I don't know if I have anybody scheduled. I don't think so.
Oh, it's up to you. Yeah, we can do that then, because now we're getting close to the end. So I think you guys are probably winding down. What do you think?
Yeah.
3 hours, 17 minutes.
Are you going to have a final copy? I mean, I'll show people real quick, and you can just talk about it, and then just 5-minute overview. Let's do right now, and then we'll
okay.
Do
and before, I can stop. I can stop sharing the screen. But before that, you think very in a very short mode, the sat links, the Starlinks of Elon Musk, crossing the sky, and I just going to drop an idea. Do you think could be some kind of high altitude drones or something like that? Because if you go, this video here in the left side of the screen is just commercial drones deployment based on the pre-compute behavior, and they can follow and then make movement, but they can keep a constant position and velocity and distance and things like that. Of course, this is just for entertainment, but you can see in terms of the programming and how these machines can behave. Then you have, I remember this video, and this is in Spanish, so I'm not going to play with audio, but this is from an exhibitions called Toys for Millionaires. And it's in Dubai, 3 years ago, and this guy are presenting, things that you and I never gonna buy it, because it's toys for millionaires, right? But one of those toys, it's things like, for example, this miniature of the Blackbird, I believe is the name of the plane,
wow, SR-71, wow,
with real jet turbines, things like that. But then the guy started talking about this drone here, and he said that this drone can reach 600 kilometers per hour and an altitude of 15 kilometers. And I just pointed these kind of things, trying to extrapolate to what military can do. Imagine what they can do. Of course, we know that the military has a drone that go up to 20 kilometers with an autonomy of 40 hours. And that is right now for real. I mean, that is not even a prototype. Right. That is what is going right now. So, because of course, when you look up into the sky, you're going to see this train of light.
Have you ever seen it?
That doesn't mean...
I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if it's possible.
Well, that would be a bunch of drones.
Argentina, Uruguay. The last week, I have friends which are flat earther that they record even with the cell phone. I mean,
wow. Okay.
It's up there.
So it's just a bunch of drones one after the other.
Could be. I don't know. I just, dropping these 3 points, onto the table, because, I mean, we know that the outer space in the way that they are trying to present us is completely fake. But they are doing this kind of cosmic show to brainwash people. And after all, you know, a lot of people only believe in what they see, and they don't understand that you are looking from the ground. You don't even show this 30 kilometers up in the atmosphere. I mean,
those are coordinated drones making all things that look like holographs move.
Could be, yeah, could be completely.
No, they're seagulls.
Magnetically controlled.
I saw it on the news.
Yeah. So now, this is a drone that, of course, they have a bunch of this. I am not saying that this is the Starlink of Elon Musk, you know, the lights in the sky. But I mean, they have drones that can reach 20 kilometers. Just dropping some ideas. I'm stop sharing now.
Okay. Got it. All right. Thank you very much, Iru, as always. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
Yes. And Bob, I think Iru said you're not going to be on Globebusters Sunday, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
no, because
I'm going to be there.
No, Iru's going to be on a
returning
plane.
to flying. I'm going to have like 12 hours of preparation.
We're going to. You keep taking time off Globebusters. We're going to have to take away your birthday.
Well, yeah, no, but please, you need to understand. Maybe my blood is going to start swirling. I can have a heart
different
attack.
direction. Where is it? Is it a straight flight? Do you have to stop somewhere?
I'm stopping in Saturn, and then I come back. No, I make a short trip from Basel to Barcelona, and then Barcelona a direct flight to Argentina.
Okay.
What? Looking at some
It's
nonsense.
interesting. I think it probably goes over Africa maybe for a bit, and then is it during the day or at night? Either day you go.
I'm starting. No, the flight is gonna be like I'm start flying at 8 p.m. in the night, and I arrive 11 a.m. in the morning to Argentina.
Interesting. It'd be nice to see the sunrise and stuff. In a flight.
Yeah, but they close the window, all the time.
Yeah, they force everybody to close the windows at some points.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, I think I'm looking at these wonderful...
This is the end of the show, of course. We all understand that.
I'm just laughing. I can't believe these images are supposed to be real. It's just...
all of it's just incredible.
Look at this one. I was like, oh, this must be computer
animation. It was like, what?
It's supposed to be real.
What is this?
These two images.
It's a lucky
hand
from the Chinese food, lucky cookie.
Oh, there you go. Saturn's moon Pan. Or Pan.
Pan.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, nice. There you go, Eat with your favorite.
Once again.
Oh, here comes the screen share.
Look at how it looks. It has this sort of, what the hell is that? Like around it.
I don't know.
What the heck?
It looks
like
straight at it.
It's like a walnut sort of, but I don't know.
Somebody got really creative in their sculpture team or something.
Oh, look at the conjunction here.
The right place.
Encleatus
when is
going
to be the day that they present the rocks in the Saturn rings?
I don't know.
It's all the time flat. I mean, perfectly.
I think too. I've looked it up. Yeah. It's like, aren't they just like 12 miles wide? I think they say. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like you'd be able to see that. 12 miles. Deep. I forgot. No, this is nice.
Oh my. Aren't they supposed to be like really spread apart? Like if you got close to it, it would just be like almost black space, they say.
Yeah, their pictures are really, really pretty, but their perspective is horrific. It is so bad.
What is this?
So why does Saturn have flat rings instead of just a bunch of things orbiting? And then why is it tilted? Why is it not on the plane of the flat solar system and the flat galaxy?
Yeah, it would make no sense.
And according to Michio Kaku, flat universe. And lately,
and this is supposed to be a real picture. Yep, Hyperion.
It's not a potato.
Jeez.
The hexagon on the that's
look at that.
That is from where the Illuminatis came from.
I like the Death Star looking moons that they have.
Yeah, that's
There's your hexagon
what's the
here.
name? That's an asteroid object. Yeah, in the asteroid belt.
They cannot show us the South Pole of the North Pole of the Earth.
But they can show you this. Look at this.
But on
it's
Saturn,
just,
they can
this
do
is
it.
the worst image I've ever seen.
What a great angle they got.
I don't get. Oh,
that
man.
looks like one of Uri's fluid dynamics things. That one of the pictures a minute back.
Something went wrong here.
This is so stupid.
Everything.
It's not even the way this would look.
What they do
The
here?
shadow is so bad. It says the sun is behind the planet, which is shielding the cameras from direct sunlight. Wait a second. The sun is behind the planet. You mean behind the camera?
And the planet?
Can't be
It's got a
behind
hell
this
of a
way.
flash to get that.
Yeah, it's
No,
so
the
funny.
way
Why
that
would these
this
be
guy
so lit
controls
and
the
these aren't?
machines to take pictures is amazing. I mean,
Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah, of course.
Don't the rings go
They
around?
managed to get it smack in the middle here.
I
This
thought
photograph.
shouldn't these rings go in front of it?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Doesn't
Where's
make
it? How the rings are not going in front of it from our perspective here?
no, but
You have to go around.
But maybe
Oh, wait.
maybe the shadow is like comfy. Maybe
Right. Refraction made it disappear, and gravity.
gravity. Yeah.
Gravity refraction.
Gravity.
Oh man,
Titan.
it's just some of these are just so funny. Like this one, just a little moon cruising around.
Impossible to fake this as well. Like,
Oh, it's so
you know,
difficult to fake.
very difficult.
Matte painting. No. No, but
They
it's
even have a question
the
here, says-
consistency between image. Of course, they do for making your
Right.
like you cannot even
You can't
compare
pinpoint
things. I
anything,
mean,
no.
you need to accept it as it is.
Right.
And there's nothing else to look at. They have, if you go up, they have some that they're like out of focus to, like as if saying, look, this one came out not so well. That's why it's
Like these
realistic
ones here or
kind of
something.
thing.
Oh, these ones are dark. This one doesn't quite come in good. This one's a little bit off. But yeah, these are all supposed to be.
There's one up, in particular that's kind of totally off. Some of these on that one on the right, and yeah, whatever. I mean, they want to get you used to seeing these paintings and thinking that they're in CGI and thinking that's actually how it looks. And they control everything. They know everything. They've been there. They put all their probes everywhere. They have hundreds of probes, thousands of satellites, trillions of dollars behind their backs and so on. So that is too much for people to believe could possibly be fake.
Yeah, it's like
that goes
Paxi.
beyond.
It's like Paxi says, believe me.
Believe me.
What cracks me up about these things is like people will come back to arguments of anti-CGI, and they'll come up with a picture and they'll see they didn't even have CGI back then. Of course, they have no idea about photorealistic painting, right?
Right.
Painting's been around since the dawn of time, but that somehow escapes them that these things could be painted, right? Especially with the photorealistic stuff.
yeah, from the 30s in Hollywood, and even more. I mean, it's and for example, with Saturn, when you go to the Cassini missions, and when they create the finale, the final moment, it's exactly the same thing as Star Wars.
Right.
It's exactly
right. Yeah, they follow. It's like the Space Force symbol is just straight out of Star Trek.
Yeah, but how they present the image, how they present the disintegration of the spacecraft, how they put the rings seen from inside of Saturn, everything has the same kind of
aesthetics.
From
same
Star
script,
Wars.
basic
it's the same
script,
thing,
right?
It's exactly. It's the same script.
Definitely.
And all the people in fact, can I make my last screen share?
Sure. Real quick, I'll show you this one thing here. Did you see this last week? I don't know if I showed you, but somebody made this video, I think probably using some of your footage. Let me bring it up and press play here. Have you seen this one? It says how space is made.
No, I didn't see it, but of course this image from the movie First Man is all over the place.
The making of First Man, is that it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How they did it, yeah. Which is exactly how they do it, which is kind of hilarious. They throw it in your face, and it's like, look how they were able to simulate it. You know, it's just like the real thing.
There you have the black silk all around it. And this kind of thing, when you are going to compare with NASA simulated moon landing, is
identical.
Same thing. It's identical. Identical. Exactly.
Look at, he's going through the ISS. That's got to be real. He's upside down. It's got to be real. All right, Iru, your last screen share. Well, according to you.
Okay,
but
my
this
last.
person,
but
this person fixed it. He says, "I did see space shuttles go up in Florida. I was in Orlando, many miles away. No fake."
Of course.
He saw the shuttle. So it can't be fake. All right, I'm ready for your screen share. Oh, there you go. Boom.
Okay. No, I remember the, this is from the Rouge One from Star Wars, with this kind of Saturn rings and things like that. And when you go to, when you start to compare all these, it's like, let me just go forward to, NASA Mission Control. And, of course, they always have this kind of user interface, which is
retro.
Super retro. And this is what supposedly all this image here is the artistic interpretation of the raw data.
Mm-hmm.
The raw data give you all these super artistic
in real time.
That's time.
Amazing.
They make the parachute moving. Because that is important. The parachute
it's coming from the data. The data tells you that the parachute's moving.
Yeah, and this was presented into the monitors of these guys. This was like a kind of mix performance. Something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, synchronized choreographed.
Exactly, with all these winds, all the friction in the, air, gases, because Saturn supposedly is what? And nobody knows. All these camera angles, with these little tiny shaking things, shaking cables, so you have the feeling of motion, big super speed, and it's a complete movie, and supposedly the people that work in this mission was crying, but this is from NASA, and you can see here, if you remember the Star Wars, it's the same thing with the Saturn rings back there.
So this is supposed to be the surface of Saturn that they're coming into.
Well, it's an artistic interpretation of the data.
And it just kind of flying sideways into it or something?
And never rip apart because the molecule gas in Saturn are really comprehensive with the spacecraft.
It looks real. I was there last week. Looks like what I saw.
Look at the ground. And here you have like this kind of animation that Sharon shows.
It's a nice day in Saturn, eh?
Completely nice day, man.
Blue skies and it's really nice.
Yeah, data raw Cassini sensors. It's and even at the final mission, the machine sent image to the Earth, even inside or super close to the Saturn surface. Yeah, because you don't even supposedly the spacecraft is what is inside of Saturn or it's outside of the atmosphere of Saturn.
Well, it's got to be outside because you wouldn't be able to see through the atmosphere. It's gaseous.
Exactly. So there you have the camera view. This is the camera view, and it's gonna be and crash.
They show the land there's like some rocks on the ground.
Yeah, and I really like this kind of way to telling you that the machine is dying, because they make flickering the image here in the middle. Look, still sending image, but it's dying.
Barely.
It's like a human, when the movie song is, somebody die.
They're on life support.
Yeah, it's the last breath. They are genius in terms of geoengineering. And give it applause, because it's a performance. It's the finale. It's the artistic
brilliance.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant, man. I mean,
have you ever thought of clapping to scientists or something? Right, it's kind of odd, but as you're saying, at the end of every performance comes the clapping and
the final bow,
the climax.
And that was my final screenshot.
Okay, I'll trust in that. Alrighty. All right, well, we'll close up here. It's been 3.5 hours. It's plenty of time. So we have what's coming up this weekend. We've got Globebusters on Sunday.
So you did not want to do the thing, look at the spacecraft?
Well, we can do it. Do you want to do a whole thing on it, or you want to spend 5 minutes just kind of covering it, or do you want to do a whole show on it?
Let's do a whole show on it.
Yeah, I'll do an hour show with you on Thursday. I don't think I have anything. I think I have something. I got to check with Life is Short. He was going to get back to me because I do want him to present.
I like your comparison. You want a 5-minute presentation, or you want a 2-hour presentation? What kind of offer is that?
There's too much Graver for 5 minutes.
There is too much. And we're talking about, of course, Rodrigo's got a magazine that he's putting together. Do you have a final copy yet, or is it still the draft version?
I don't know. I'm waiting to hear from some people, but I haven't heard. If I don't hear anything, it's just going to be the way it is. And then I just want to move forward to something else, some plans
what kind of program
to do next.
Using?
But
what kind of program do you use to build that?
The program?
Yeah. How do you? I don't even know. I wouldn't even know how to make a PDF like this.
I'm using Affinity Publisher, actually. I don't like to use Adobe stuff because they charge you per month. I don't want to be tied to that. And Affinity is a great company. I think it's like a one-time. I have the original, and it's very cheap. It's like $30-40, I think, for what it does, and one time only, and you have updates forever. And it does pretty much what InDesign does. And it's integrated with some other programs that I use already for making the cards that I did. I designed it in something called Affinity Designer, and the publisher is just how you can make any kind of publication. I think it's quite easy to use.
Yeah, I would love to learn how to use something like this.
It's a plutonium-based upgrade, right?
Sorry?
I like that you can click these links.
No, because you say that it's upgrade forever. So
right.
It's plutonium-based
upgrade. Yeah, it's like that kind of app, kind of like the old days. You buy it once and you get all the updates. You don't have to be paying more and more and more, or tied to a subscription service. So it's kind of old school in that way, which is pretty nice.
And you can put links in and everything. I mean, this would be great to hand out to part of an email chain or something, and then I could even put here's my videos for the month. Here's Globebusters videos for the month. Here's Ero's video, and then people could just click easily from a PDF.
Absolutely. So it's very nice. I like it that kind of stuff as well. That how that you can link so many things to the text. You can just not only throw a video in there that plays from the inside of it. That's the only thing you cannot do. But
which I don't think is needed anyway.
No,
for me, I have seen online magazines like that, but they cost a bunch. I can't remember the name of them. There is some up there, but I just like the way it's laid out. So yeah, let's cover it on Thursday, or if it's not this Thursday, it'll be the next Thursday. I got to check. I kind of already offered that to Travis, but he hasn't got back to me. So, all right, but we will cover that. I think it's awesome. Who was saying something? Thought somebody said something. All right, well, let's say our goodbyes and what's coming up. Obviously, like I said, I've got Globebusters Sunday. I've got Raw on Monday. And then see what happens on Thursday. And then I'll probably be going out Saturday and doing some interviews here in town. We're going to try it at a flea market this time, see how that works. So we'll see how it goes. But that's what's coming up for me. How about Bob? What do you got going on? What's your final words of the day?
Okay, well, for me, Sunday coming up on Globebusters, you know how I like to, demonstrate common sense things and, things that are kind of obvious and in plain sight. So Sunday I will be showing you guys something from a JTOL and Media 1 video that was just released that is so obvious and so incredible, but nobody ever sees this, that it will make the Black Swan pale in comparison.
Sweet.
So, yeah, look forward to that on Sunday. I think you guys are really going to like it. It'll be cool. And other than that, I'll be heading over to listen to Iron Realm Media. Join us over there. Cammie and Walt and Josh and Zach and all the guys are over there. So join us after Jeranism Live over there, and I'll paste a link in chat. That's it for me.
All right, thanks, Bob, and shout out to JQ. JQ, great guy. Sent 2 super chats. One says Shezuit. I guess that's for Iru, and then another one. Shout out to Ace McLeod, which is an awesome. Thank you very much for that super chat. I think you can actually say that in the chat without super chatting, but I won't let you know that. Please continue the super chats. Iru, you got any final words? What's coming up for you? You got traveling back home, going to be upside down. And get as far away from Einstein as possible.
I'm concerned about that. I'm going to start immediately the training. I need to. This, like I tell you before at the beginning of the show, this week was like a kind of holidays week here. It's the final week, so I'm start waiting for arrive to Argentina and start doing things again. After the conference and all that kind of stuff, you always trying to take a few days for enjoy the real life. So that was what I did, and when I arrived to Argentina, I gonna plug me again into the NASA matrix.
All right.
Are you gonna review the manuscript, Iru?
Today
I can hear you. The signal is interrupted by the Voyager. I cannot hear you. Sorry. No. I need to. Hey, wait me to when I ride to Argentina. Sorry. Sorry.
He's got Linda on his mind right now. I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Cover everything. And Iru, when you get back too, I want you to whatever day you want to come on and do your conference presentation in English. Let's do that.
Yes, that will be super nice. Of course, I'm going to try to practice a little bit before jumping into the jeranism arena because I don't want to have the, my brain stuck between 2 minutes. So yeah, but that will be great. Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity to present it.
Thank you. Can't wait. All right. See you, Iru. And Rodrigo, what do you have coming up? Besides hanging out with me?
Just I'm gonna sneakily paste here. Nobody clicks on it. Is the the album that I just released for the artist Makulelo. He has a flat earthish cover, and shout out to Alex Michael, of course, for helping me out with some last minute things that I needed to do, and he graciously took a listen to the whole album. Is there? It's probably going to be coming out in the next couple of days. It's something that we put a bunch of time on it. I had to do it. There's an explanation behind it. That's one thing. Then of course, the magazine. I'm continuing on the same lines, and it's out there for some. The Space Crack magazine. It's an idea that I think can help us. It is for promoting all of our work and for talking about it, for sharing some ideas. So, and to foment, I guess, discussion and point to different details that I think it talks so much, guys. And there's I think we produce so much information. And it doesn't hurt to have it on paper and to link to everybody's works and and so far I'm just limiting it to people that I've been interacted in terms of I'm putting links from channels that I really like that I have also interacted that they have given me some of their time and vice versa. So it's a way to, I think, is a way to be grateful to what we're doing, and also to try to push forward with questions, and also it is something that goes in parallel with the work I'm going to try to do with FE Core right now, that with the publications. So,
I like it.
Which is on that theme of integrating, everything that we're doing. So yeah, that's the idea, and looking forward to talking to you about it as well next time. And yeah, thank you so much for that, and see how we can make it something cool. And then if you want to know anything about that program, I can show you it anytime.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm interested in it. I think the idea is great, and just when I saw it, I'm like, oh man, this would be so awesome if I got some sort of email list together, and then put together, even like you said, like a monthly magazine where I'm able to just link, here's my videos for the month, here's Raw for the month, here's the lounges for the month, here's Globebusters for the month, here's some things I'm working on, here's some, and just you have some articles in there. I think it'd be great, and I think people would sign up for that, and be cool to hand that out monthly, and then it kind of chronicles all your stuff in one place. Right now, I don't know, how am I going to go back and look at what happened last November? But in this case, I'd be able to pull up my November article or my November newsletter, and it would have
a magazine.
There. Yeah. So I think it's a great idea. So yeah, we'll talk about that this coming week. And then let's see here. Is Austin still here, or did he leave? He might have left.
Still here.
Austin, are you there? Don't know.
He is muted.
That's right. I think he's been muted for a little while. Maybe he fell asleep.
We bored him to death.
Right. All right, and UAP, thanks for joining us so much. And I know you were going to show some stuff, and we didn't get to that, but maybe, again, you can either present on my channel or next week. I'll love to hear from you.
Yeah. Some of it you guys showed already. Some of the stuff happened to be like the same exact thing. So it's good. As far as what I got going on, I've got finished my book. I have kind of a deadline, so hopefully that won't affect my video production too much. But that's pretty much all consuming me.
Yeah, good job. And we do have. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear what you said, but I thought you were saying something.
He said congratulations.
Congratulations, yeah.
Oh,
that was me. Writing a book is a really hard thing to do. So, congratulations. Sorry for interrupt you.
No, I tried doing that myself. It's not easy.
It hasn't. Wait till I finish it, then congratulate me. But
right.
No, I just have to organize it. That's my problem. It's all there. I just have to put it together. I've even thought about publishing it kind of as is, because it's very organic how it comes out through like the chronology. But I'm going to try to organize it better, because a few test reads told me that that'd be a good idea. And let's see, something else. Well, in my personal life, I got another patent awarded, which is nice. It's going to keep me busy with my business for a while. And that was good news I got. And then besides that, I'm just going to keep going with both channels. I'm doing a little bit on Vimeo. I'm finding if something doesn't quite upload on YouTube, or if it's blocked in some strange country or something like that, sometimes I can have better luck with Vimeo with those types of things. So I don't even try YouTube anymore on some certain topics or videos. I'll just put it on Vimeo. So, but that's about it. And thanks for having me on. It was good.
What's your Vimeo channel, UAP?
I think it's just called UAP channel. And there's a link. Usually I have it in my video descriptions, but yeah.
And I've got links to both your channels, but I'm showing them here on the screen. There's UAP, 43,000 subscribers, and then he's got UAP channel also. So both those links are in the description. Links to Iru, links to Austin.
Yeah, support me in the English channel, please.
Yes.
So I can start doing live shows.
Oh, by the way, thanks again, JQ. He says, I say these things in Super Chat because I love all you and support FE creators. JQ, you are awesome. My lovely wife says, shout out to Linda.
So shout out to Linda for sure. And by the way, Linda is very lovely. She looks a lot like Cameron Diaz. to me. I think she's gorgeous.
Cameron Diaz, well, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well. Thank you. Cameron Diaz on Who Wants to Be John Malkovich, or Cameron Diaz in the Angel Charlie's Angels?
Yeah, Charlie's Angels.
We have two different types.
I didn't know there were two.
No, well. Oh, thanks.
Well, if you're gonna clone somebody, there you go.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, I think Cameron Diaz looked absolutely smoking hot in what was the Ace
Mask.
Ventura movie, Mask? Oh my God! Whoa, yeah,
that's good.
That was beauty.
Well,
Yes.
stop there, please.
Stop there, please.
And if somebody tells me that she's a transvestite, I'm going to go crazy. Or a transsexual, whatever. I mean, oh my God.
Don't watch any Russian videos.
Yeah, a
It's
transsexual
dangerous.
and a shield.
Right. And she loves NASA. She'll probably be talking to the ISS astronauts soon. All right. Let's see. Who did I forget? I know I forgot somebody. UAP, we got him. Oh, yeah, both his channels are up on the screen. There we go. And there we go. And, yeah, I've got a couple presentations coming up soon with some people, so keep an eye on my channel for that, and with Rodrigo, and Life is Short. I think Plain Permaculture wants to do one. A couple other people. So should be fun, and appreciate everybody watching. As always, thank you to all my patrons. If you want to join them, you can do that by going to patreon.com/jeranism. While you're there, support Iru, support Rodrigo, support Globebusters. By the way, all those links are in the description, so you're able to do that. Support what you like, or it goes away. Thank you again, JQ and Joe Mama and everybody else for their super chats. As always, it is appreciated. All right, that's it, guys. I remind you to do your own research, because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. Till Sunday with Globebusters at 12 noon Pacific, this has been Jeranism and Crew. Peace.
Peace.
Cheers.